got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That bad luck bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports for Tuesday, June 2nd. The only play that I gave out on the show yesterday after I was going to give out nothing was Cincinnati Reds run line. It was largely dependent on Chase Burns being the starter. He might be hurt or something because he got scratched and he is not listed in their upcoming schedule, and he's not on the injured list or anything either, so I don't know what that was. But hopefully, if you made that play, hopefully you specified starting pitchers must start, which is the default. And I don't know if I made that clear, but that was one where, yeah, you didn't really know who was going to start for Kansas City because it looked like it could be a bullpen game, but they actually had their listed starter actually went like 5 innings or something, their reliever who was their starter. But obviously, you needed Burns to start that game if you're going to make that play, so you would have had to have specified Burns must start the game. I think you could specify one team as well, like this starter must start, but I don't care about the other starter. But I think by default, the listed starters must start for both teams, so hopefully that's what you did. It was a no play, assuming that you did do that, which is the default. Like, obviously, again, we had to specify, like, you know, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling here. All right. But yeah, it was a no play. As long as you went with the default bet on that starting pitchers listed must start, then you got your money back because Burns did not pitch. So it was a no play. I should have just not even played it, but I kind of liked it as I thought about it more, but whatever. Hopefully Burns is okay. Let's talk about baseball here, and I guess, well, I could mention, I don't know, the NFL trades that have been going on here. The A.J. Brown one, A.J. Brown to the Patriots, we knew that was going to happen. When I did my NFL preview, I already assumed that was going to happen. Myles Garrett was more of a surprise. That was an interesting trade. Browns are playing for the future right now, even though they suck at drafting. But they made that trade. The Rams are trying to win right now, so that made sense for the Rams. Bolster their defense. The Rams are definitely going to be in contention again this year, man. As I already mentioned that in my NFL season preview as well, I had the Rams being a playoff team and being one of the top 2 teams in their division. I think Seattle actually might take a little bit of a step back from what they did last season. I like the Rams and the 49ers a little bit better than Seattle, but that is a powerhouse division except for the Cardinals. I think the other 3 teams are fairly likely to make the playoffs. All right. Detroit and Tampa Bay in baseball. Let's go. We're going to have a full baseball slate today. There's WNBA Cup bullshit. I almost had a WNBA play, but I don't like the number, so I'm not going to do it. And then I'm not going to have a play in the hockey game, but there is Stanley Cup Final action tonight as well. All right. Tampa Bay and Detroit played yesterday. It was a very high-scoring game. Detroit actually got the win. 10-9. And Detroit went with a bullpen game yesterday, I believe, so they used basically all of their relief pitchers. Tampa Bay used fewer of theirs, so I'll give Tampa Bay a bullpen edge here because they're more rested, although neither bullpen has been very good. Tampa Bay is 19th, Detroit 23rd. Based on whip, Tampa Bay's ERA is worse than that, though. But I think Tampa Bay does have a little bit of a bullpen edge here. Not much. They have a bigger offensive edge. They're tied in 7th Offensively, based on OPS, Detroit is 27th. Detroit's just fallen off a cliff offensively, even though they did put up a bunch of runs yesterday. Jack Flaherty's getting the start for Detroit here. You know I'm not a fan. He's not very good. 5.81 ERA this year, 1.61 whip. His offense behind him hasn't helped either. He's 0-7. Really, really ugly stuff. He's been worse on the road as well. 6.04 road ERA. Not a lot to like, however. He did pitch well in his last outing against Anaheim. Had 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 3 earned runs on 6 hits. That was not that bad. And 2 starts prior to that, he made it 6 innings. Gave up 4 runs to Toronto. No walks, 4 strikeouts. I know that's Toronto. Their offense isn't that good, but Flaherty has kind of like alternated good and bad starts here, although that would indicate that this is going to be a bad start if he keeps doing that. But he is pitching better than maybe it looks like right now, at least in that he had a high strikeout rate over the month of May, 36 strikeouts in 27 1/3 innings, 8 walks. That was a good ratio, but he was way too hittable, 33 hits allowed. And, of course, Detroit lost all of his games during the month. They've lost 8 games in a row that he started, I think. Overall, in the course of the season, his walk number is way higher, though. His walk number is bad on the course of the season, but again, he seems to be much improved in that department recently, so maybe we could overlook that a little bit. His strikeout rate is actually really high, and his hit rate is slightly bad on the course of the season. So I think Flaherty's still bad, but right now he's better than he was at the beginning of the season. He does have good numbers against the Rays and 39 career at-bats, 12-1 strikeout walk ratio, 179 average, 585 OPS. Not too bad, so he might actually match up okay here. I still don't think I would want to trust him, though. Steven Matz is getting the start for the Rays. They have converted him back into a starting pitcher this season. He did deal with an injury a little while ago. His numbers are kind of mediocre. 4.67 ERA is definitely not very good. 1.24 whip is not horrible. Kind of indicates that his ERA should be a little bit better than it is. He is better at home as well. 4 ERA at home. So the home road splits line up in his favor. He had a bad outing last time out against Baltimore, but maybe you give him a pass for that because he was coming back from injury. I think it might have been in that start. No, it was the previous start. He came back from injury. He only went 4 innings in that one, but that was also against Baltimore. So Baltimore had just seen him, so that was a little bit of an advantage to Baltimore, I think, after that. So Baltimore was able to hit him a little bit better than that in the next outing. He's not allowed more than 4 earned runs in any other start besides that. So he's not as bad as he looked in that last game. We could at least say that. He's allowed fewer than 1 hit per inning on the season. His strikeout rate's not that high, though, and his walk rate is a little bit too high. So there are some concerns here with him. He's an okay pitcher, though. Against Detroit, he has pretty good numbers in 34 at-bats, 176 average allowed, 612 OPS, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. So the matchup numbers seem to indicate that both starting pitchers might actually do okay here. I don't know if I really want to necessarily bank on that. The total's 8.5. There are arguments there because of the matchup numbers. There are arguments that this could be a first 5 under. You're kind of fading what happened yesterday if you do that. I would not go full game if I went under, though, that's for sure, because I would not trust the bullpens at all. The money is also indicating on Detroit here. 93% of the tickets are on Tampa. The public is going to play the team with the better record, which is Tampa. And they're around minus 130 something on the money line. 76% of the cash on Detroit, though. So the money is saying Detroit in that game there. And then, of course, because of all these issues with all these odds screens that I use, maybe I have to start buying odds logic, man. I don't know. But then if I do that, I can't show it on here because it's a paid product. Although I can kind of mention it in vague terms, if I am using it. But, yeah, we don't see the total percentages on this new updated screen here, whatever. I don't really have a strong opinion on that game. I think my best opinion on it, which is still really weak, is a first 5 under in that game, but I still really wouldn't trust those starting pitchers, though. San Diego at Philadelphia is actually a pretty interesting game. On TBS, these teams did not play yesterday, so we have rested bullpens. Philadelphia was traveling back from the Pacific Coast, and while they were out there, they swept San Diego. So this is a quick revenge scenario for San Diego, which a lot of times that is a factor. Like the team that lost and just got swept at home is going to be a little bit more motivated, perhaps, to come in and play better here. So that would be San Diego. The situation looks pretty positive for San Diego here and negative for Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is in the spot where they have the avenging team going up against them. They might overlook San Diego after beating them on the road in a sweep, but also Philadelphia is returning home from the road. So I always talk about this. When a team returns home from the road, they have to get back to home life. It can be a distraction, especially when you just beat that team that you're playing. You really might overlook them. So I think it's a negative situation for Philadelphia. So that's how I started my handicap here, thinking that, this is potentially a spot to play San Diego here. And even better for San Diego, they're already on the East Coast because they were just in Washington. So they're only going from Washington to Philadelphia. So the travel spot is a lot better for San Diego here. They're already adjusted to this time zone, and they're probably going to be trying to bounce back from a loss here because they lost to Washington the last 2 games there. They're on a spiral, though. They've lost whatever this is, 6 of their last 7 games. But the spot is definitely better for San Diego. So, okay, we start the handicap there. Both bullpens are fairly good, although San Diego's is very good. They're one of the best bullpen ERAs in baseball. They're ranked 5th in WHIP. Philadelphia's not bad at 12th, but their bullpen ERA is worse. So San Diego does have the better bullpen. Offensively, both teams have struggled to a shocking degree. Philadelphia 28th, San Diego 29th. That's kind of crazy. So we have offenses that don't look that great here. Now, where this handicap, liking the situation on San Diego, kind of starts falling apart a little bit, looking at the starting pitching matchup, and you might think, well, why? Because Randy Vasquez has better numbers than Aaron Nola, so it looks like you should want to take San Diego here. It looks like everything lines up for that. I don't actually think it does when you start digging into the matchup numbers and the some of the other metrics these guys have. Yeah, Vasquez has good-looking numbers this year, 3.28 ERA, 1.23 WHIP for San Diego, and he's also way better on the road, 1.46 road ERA. So those line up nicely for him to pitch okay here. It doesn't make any sense to me why his home ERA is so much worse when San Diego is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, but that, to put that aside here, where this handicap starts kind of indicating that at least in my opinion, I don't really want to actually make San Diego a play. Vasquez pitched in that series against Philadelphia. Didn't pitch that well. He gave up 4 earned runs on 8 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Only 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. Yeah, he got a little bit unlucky. He gave up 3 home runs in that ballpark. I don't know what the deal is there. But he didn't have a very good outing. And if you look at what he's done over the last month, yeah, he has a 3.71 ERA, which looks pretty good, but 13-6 strikeout walk ratio is not good. Really, the strikeout rate is really low in 26 2/3 innings, also 29 hits allowed. Now, Vasquez, usually the walks are a huge issue for him, and he has fixed that, but in doing so, he's gotten a bit more hittable. I just don't think I could trust him, man. His numbers over the course of the season, they're not really bad. He's allowed fewer than 1 hit per inning. His walk rate's not that bad. His strikeout rate is low. So that's kind of a concern with him, is that he's just not, he doesn't have stuff that's going to fool hitters. But then the big concern here comes not only in the fact that Philadelphia just saw him, so they're recently familiar with him because they just saw him, and they did fairly well in that game. But Philadelphia has a good track record against them anyway. In 44 at-bats, 409 batting average allowed, 1220 OPS. And I think I mentioned this when we handicapped those games during that series. And in fact, I think we had the same pitching matchup that we have today happen in that series as well. And I believe Philadelphia won that game. I believe it was the 4-3 win. It was that game. Philadelphia obviously won that game because they swept the series. But yeah, it was the 4-3 Philadelphia win there. So Vasquez does not have good numbers against Philadelphia. And then what was this? I don't know what his strikeout walk ratio was against them. I have to keep switching it back to the team. Oh yeah, 3-3. Not a good strikeout walk ratio either. Aaron Nola getting the start for Philadelphia here. He's coming back for paternity leave. So what I always talk about, fade the baby. I made that joke the other day because he's from Louisiana. his name is Nola, which is even more ridiculous, although he's from Baton Rouge. I was like, when he has a baby, does it come out? Does his wife give birth through a king cake? The Mardi Gras cake. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, Mardi Gras cake is like this huge cake. There's a little plastic baby hidden in it, so it's a choking hazard. But if you find the baby, I guess it's like considered to be good luck for you or whatever. I found one once at a Mardi Gras party. I got the slice of cake with the baby in it. I delivered the baby out of a cake, man. I'm basically an OBGYN. All right. But anyway, yeah, enough of those jokes. Aaron Nola is coming off of paternity leave. The last time he pitched was May 26th, so he's almost on schedule here, but his schedule start has been pushed back a little bit, although it looks like he basically is on schedule, though, because he's lining up against Vasquez again, and they pitched against each other last time. So it seems like he's not off schedule. However, I have a thing where I took it from the fighting handicappers, where they have a concept of fading the baby when they're looking at like an individual sport where the individual has a huge effect on the game, and I think it does with a starting pitcher, although this hasn't worked out for me so far. We tried to do this once with Ryan Weathers, and then I think I laid off it. There was another pitcher that had a baby where I didn't make a play on that game. But generally, the idea is when a guy has a baby, it's a distraction because you're dealing with all that, home life, family life. You're dealing with having to deal with the baby, whatever. You're getting less sleep, you know what I mean? So usually it's a bit of a distraction. It's a problem. So usually you want to fade that pitcher. So that is something I think to be considered here. But a lot of other things look good for Nola here. Now, some things don't look good, like his ERA and his whip. 5.72 ERA, 1.45 whip. Yeah, those are bad numbers. He still hasn't really completely come back from his injury, but Philadelphia has won 4 of his last 5 games, and in his last outing, he pitched well, and that was against San Diego in that series that I've been talking about here. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 earned runs on 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks, and in fact, this month, he has the past month, 21-5 strikeout walk ratio in 25 and a third innings, so he is pitching better recently, although he allowed 28 hits over that span, too. But generally, he's pitching a bit better right now, so I think he is possibly sort of coming into form now. And I know he pitched a lot of last year and didn't do well coming back from that injury. He started pitching well at the end of the season, which led me to believe he was kind of on his way back to what he once was, because he used to be a good pitcher. But, there are a lot of things to consider in this game, man. Obviously, he's not pitching well this season, but he seems to be pitching a little bit better again now. He pitched well against San Diego last time out. And, yeah, he has good numbers against San Diego. They have 100 at-bats against him, 33 strikeouts, 2 walks, 160 average, 416 OPS. So Nola actually dominates San Diego historically, so in a huge sample. So I don't want to fade Nola. I don't want to fade the baby, even though there are a ton of situational aspects of this game that are very much against Philadelphia here. So that whole handicap is crazy. It's like you have a really, really crazy situational spot here to fade Philadelphia. The problem is the starting pitching matchup is, to me, highly against fading Philadelphia here. So I can't bring those two together. You know what I mean? So it's a pass on this game for me. I guess there might be some arguments for a lower scoring game. The total's at 8. I mean, both offenses are really not that good, and the bullpens are okay, and they're rested. So when you have teams coming off of a rest, it can cool off the hitting a little bit. The travel can kind of distract the hitting a bit too. So I think an under makes some sense in this game, under the 8, but I would not want to do that either. And the money's backing Philadelphia here, by the way. 61% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Philly. They're around minus 130. I think I agree generally with that idea, even though the situation is highly negative for them, though. So I can't do it, but we're at 20 minutes in. I've only talked about 2 games. That game is a really, really crazy handicap. There's a lot going on in that game. But the money is saying Philadelphia, so do with that information what you want. It seems like the professional bettors might be weighing the matchup above the situation there. And I know the advanced analytics guys don't like Vasquez. They think he's going to regress in a major way, and they might be right about that. Garrett, what's up? You're ready for the hockey tonight? Pete, what's up? You got some king cake. You found the baby? All right. That should bring us all good luck with these bets. I'm going to talk about that hockey game at the end of the show. I don't know. I think it's difficult to handicap it. Baltimore at Boston is the next game here. These teams were both off yesterday as well. So, again, we have rested bullpens here, possibly cooled off hitting. The Red Sox hitting has actually started improving recently. Go figure. They just beat Cleveland in a series. There you go. The Red Sox are returning home from Cleveland, but it was only a single series road trip, so it's not the worst road trip return spot there. So I don't think it's really that negative for the Red Sox. Baltimore is starting a road trip with a little bit of momentum off of beating Toronto. I think both teams are going to show up generally motivated here. The Red Sox have the better bullpen. I don't know why I'm looking at the rest because I just said neither team played yesterday. Red Sox are ranked 4th in bullpen whip. They have one of the better bullpen ERAs in the league as well. They're a good bullpen. Baltimore's is not as good at 20th. So the Red Sox have a decent bullpen advantage here. Offensively, the Orioles are the better team. They are 11th right now. Red Sox have moved up a little bit. They're 20th right now, tied in 20th. The Red Sox do appear to have a starting pitching edge if you just look at it on the surface. Shane Baz is pitching for the Orioles. He's not doing great. 4.48 ERA, 1.43 whip. He's been basically the same home and away. It doesn't really matter. He did pitch well in his last few outings, though. He's allowed 3 or 4 earned runs over his last 3 outings. I think you could argue he just got really pumped up to face his former team, though, Tampa Bay, because a lot of times when these pitchers are let go by a team, they go out and they perform really well that first time, or maybe in this case, the first 2 times they go up against that team because they just want to prove themselves against them. So Baz did do well in those outings, but his walk number is still very, very high. Even though he's allowed 3 or 4 earned runs in the last 3 outings, 25 hits allowed in 30 and a third innings. Over the month of May, that's all pretty good, but 16 walks is really bad. 28 strikeouts is good. Good enough, but that number of walks is crazy, dude. And over the course of the season, yeah, he has a really high walk rate, which is his major problem. His hit rate is a little bit high. His strikeout rate is not as high as maybe you would want with a guy like him, but his walks are really the main issue here. However, he does do well against the Red Sox. He has 54 at-bats against them, 12 strikeouts, 4 walks, 167 batting average allowed, 428 OPS. Baz might actually do well here. He's going up against Connolly early, though, who is having a good season early in his career with the Red Sox. 2.95 ERA, 1.16 whip, pretty good. He's been a little bit worse at home, 3.29 ERA, but obviously that's not bad. He's coming off a nice outing against the Braves where he shut them out in Fenway for 7 innings, 4 hits allowed in that one. Didn't allow any runs, like I said, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, a little bit concerning, but he'd only walked 2 guys over the last 3 starts combined, so his walk issue seems to have gotten a bit under control. He was walking a lot of guys earlier this season. His walk rate on the season is still too high, but that does seem to be improving. His strikeout rate is decent for a guy like him, and then his hit rate is really low. So generally, yes, I think he's a good pitcher, and if he can pitch well multiple times, really. He pitched against Atlanta twice over the last 3 games, and he pitched well against Tampa and Houston before that, did okay against the Yankees as well this season. If he can pitch okay against some of those good lineups like that, actually Houston didn't go well, but all the rest of those starts were good. If he could do that, then yeah, I mean, that's a good sign that he's pitching well against some of the top offenses in baseball. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs only once this season against Houston. And of course, he's going to be facing a Baltimore team that doesn't have a lot of experience against him. They did see him, I think, probably last year, or was it this year? No, it was this year. He pitched at Baltimore and actually did fine in that game, too. He went 6 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. So he did well in that one. Those numbers are what we see here. Basically, Baltimore's hitters have 21 at-bats against him, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 190 average, but somewhat high 703 OPS, given that the rest of those numbers are really good. The OPS is a little bit high because Basallo and Henderson each have a home run off him, but maybe that's a little bit fluky. So I generally think Early will do well here, but Boz has good matchup numbers as well. So it's like, well, what do we do? I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. What do we do with this game? The money's coming in a little bit on the Red Sox. They're around minus 130 something on the money line here. They do have a bullpen advantage, so I'll give you that. So if you think, the Red Sox might have a slight starting pitching edge here, plus the bullpen edge, maybe I would slightly lean that way, but I don't think there's a big edge in this game as far as the side. 73% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the Red Sox. And, of course, you have to think that they have enough of an edge that outweighs the price that you're paying, too, which I'm not sure that that's the case. Obviously, I don't have a play on this game. The total's at 8.5. Based on the fact that both starting pitchers look like they have good matchup numbers here, though, you could make an argument for an under, and I would maybe even possibly full game, but I don't know. I don't like Baltimore's bullpen enough, though. So under first 5 innings makes sense here as well. Maybe the Red Sox will fall back into their poor offensive ways at home, because they've been really bad offensively at home this season, except in their last homestand, they did actually hit well, though, at home. So all that to keep in mind. What's up, man? EDBD. I hope you don't have erectile dysfunction. No, I don't have a play on the first game either. I really have no read on that first game. So yeah, the first game I had nothing really. A very, very slight lean maybe towards the first 5 under in that one, but I got nothing on that game. It's very difficult. I don't like it. And yeah, the San Diego-Philadelphia one is just it's a real conflict of the things that I use for handicapping. So I do have 3 baseball plays, by the way. I forgot to mention that. They're all in the later half of the board, I would say, though. And I was considering a couple other games, so I will point those out. I'm going to point out, the other games. I'll point out where I saw some of the bigger, money reads coming in as well. All right, Miami at Washington. Washington, these teams played yesterday. Miami won the game yesterday, 7-3. Miami does have the better bullpen, and I believe they're more rested after yesterday, too. Miami, used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Washington used 3. Miami's is a significantly better bullpen, though. They're ranked 6th right now. Washington is 24th. Offensively, Washington is better. They're 4th, and they tend to be really good at home. And we saw yet another high-scoring game in Washington yesterday. They play a lot of high-scoring home games, dude. They hit well at home, and their pitching is bad at home. And just generally, that is the type of team they are. Miami is 20th in offense, by the way, tied with the Red Sox. So Washington has an offensive edge here. Miami is going with Lake Bashar. Is that how you pronounce this guy's name? It sounds like a geographic formation. Lake Baikal, what? Is he in Russia? I have no idea. Lake Bashar, he's a relief pitcher. He's got some solid hair game going on here at least, but I think he's only going to go about 1 inning here, man. I mean, yeah, he's got good numbers on the season, whatever. He's a relief pitcher, though, so he's going to probably open for Miami, and the reason for that is Yuri Perez is supposed to be pitching today, but he's injured, so we have all these guys going on the injured list and whatever, so Miami looks like they're going with a bullpen game here in what would have been Yuri Perez's turn in the rotation. So that is definitely a downgrade for Miami. Even though their bullpen's good, they got to go with a bullpen game here. So I don't know. I honestly have no idea what we're going to get out of Miami here. Bashar kind of got wrecked by the Mets in his last outing. He went 2 innings in that one. That's not a good sign because the Mets are not a good team. Well, at least they haven't been hitting well, I should say. I do think they're better than the record looks, though. So, yeah, Bashar, he's allowed runs in 4 of his last 5 appearances. That's not good because they're all short appearances, so I don't really trust him here. His numbers against Washington, he's not going to be in the game very long, though, so it doesn't make sense to really over-handicap this, but he's got a high OPS allowed to Washington, not really a high batting average, but it's a very small sample size. He'll be opposed by Miles Mikolas, who I guess Washington doesn't have any better option than this guy. I mean, he's not a good pitcher. 5.72 ERA, 1.39 whip. His numbers have actually gotten a little bit better over the last month, but he's been bad at home. 7.66 home ERA. Really bad. Last outing at Cleveland, he only lasted 3 2/3 innings. Things aren't going well, man, even though his walk rate has gone way down this month. He's only walked 3 guys in 23 innings over the past month. 20 hits allowed. I keep forgetting it's June. 20 hits allowed. Only 13 strikeouts, though, so he's not a strikeout pitcher. But, yeah, he's been a little bit better this month. Like I said, he's allowed 4 or fewer earned runs in all those outings, but some of them have been pretty short outings. Over the course of the season, his hit rate is still too high. He's allowed too many home runs. His walk rate's not that bad, and his strikeout rate is really low. I mean, he's just kind of an older junk pitcher, man. He's just not very good. He's definitely not good at home. Miami does not have great offensive numbers against him, though. 33 at-bats, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, 242 batting average allowed, 710 OPS. So when I first looked at this, I was thinking, oh, God, you got a bullpen game from Miami. Mikolas is pitching for Washington, plus their bad bullpen. Washington plays all these high-scoring games at home. It looks like an over game to me, but diving into it, I'm like, well, Miami's bullpen could actually maybe stifle Washington's offense to some degree here. Mikolas actually doesn't have horrible matchup numbers here, so I'm not going to do anything with this game. I'll still lean over, though, just based on the way this thing sets up. And the odds makers have thrown a total of 9 out there, kind of indicating they think this is going to be a higher scoring game. There are definitely reasons over does still make sense. And again, Washington, they play a lot of high scoring games at home. And Mikolas is also really bad at home. So more things indicate for an over to me than anything else in this game. So I'd still lean that way. Washington is a small favorite in this game as well, which I don't have a good read on the side at all. But yeah, I mean, I still don't trust Mikolas though. So I don't know. The game just looks like an over game to me though. Maybe that it's just intuition. I don't know. I know sometimes when I said that the other day about whatever that San Diego game was, and that was not correct. I think it was San Diego, Washington, actually. All right, Cleveland and the Yankees. These teams both did not play yesterday. Yankees are in a bit of a negative situation here. They're returning home from a road trip where they went to Kansas City and then Sacramento. So they're returning home from that. It was a successful road trip. They won 5 out of 6 on the road trip. They're coming home across the country, though, so I talk about it. Even though they had a day off, whatever, I think the day off is debatably even worse because it gets you settled back in at home. I think it becomes more of a distraction in some ways. So you have to readjust to the time zone. It can be a distraction. You have to get back to home life, whatever. Maybe the Yankees won't totally overlook Cleveland because I think they're in first place in the AL Central still, but the AL Central is a bad division, dude. This is still a negative spot for the Yankees, I would say, on the return home situation. But you look at the starting pitching matchup here, it's like, yeah, there's no way you can really fade the Yankees here, even though, yeah, they're going to be overpriced in the market. So I guess maybe that's the one. That plus the situation, I guess, maybe is the reason, for doing it if you really want to. But, there's no way I'm going to face Schlittler, though. I'm just not going to do it unless there's some crazy setup for the game where, like, he has horrible matchup numbers or something, plus it's a horrible spot. Then maybe I'd do it. But, yeah, I'm not going to do it in this game. Bullpen-wise, the Yankees' bullpen's been decent. They're 14th right now. Cleveland 15th, a little bit worse. Their ERA is a bit worse. So, yeah, I think the Yankees have a slight bullpen advantage here. Yankees obviously have a huge hitting advantage here. They're number 2 in offense. Cleveland is 24th. Yankee Stadium tends to be a higher scoring stadium, and the Yankees have been a very high scoring home team. I think they're still the highest scoring home team. Gerald, what's up? I'm going to try to turn it around. Yesterday was a no play for me because Burns did not pitch. So that was as long as you did the default thing, which specifies that the starters must start in that game. I don't know why Burns is not there. Like, I don't know what's going on. He must be injured or something. Because he did not pitch in that game. They scratched him in the middle of the day. I commented on my video here and on the and on Instagram after I posted all the stuff. I commented on it saying, Burns isn't playing, so obviously I don't recommend this play anymore. And instead, my lean on that game, I changed it to being an over, which was correct, by the way. The over won. Although I don't think it would have made my cut, though, the over. It seemed pretty good for an over, though, with 2 bullpen games. He was sick. Burns, you got to come back, man. Burns, baby Burns, Mr. Burns. All right, well, I guess we'll expect Burns. He'll make a start at some point, but he'll be off schedule, so I might not want to actually give out a play on him whenever that happens. He's not scheduled to pitch today, so that's the next game I'm going to talk about, by the way. But Cleveland and the Yankees here. Joey Cantillo is pitching for Cleveland. He's got a decent-looking 3.57 ERA, but his whip is pretty bad, 1.4, so he's not as good as his ERA looks. He's been pretty good on the road, though, 3.07 road ERA. But you look at his recent outings, he's not really going deep into these outings. Cleveland had won 5 games in a row of his, but he's not going deep. He's had a bunch of walks. He's had 3+ walks in all but 1 outing in the month of May. That's not good. And he only lasted 2 innings last time out against Washington. This is bad, dude. 18-18 strikeout walk ratio over the month of May. That is horrendous. In 27 2/3 innings pitched, 23 hits allowed is fine. The 18 walks is just outrageously high. You can't do that, dude. And, of course, his walk rate on the season is way too high. His strikeout rate is fine. It's a little bit low. And his hit rate is also low, which is good. But this guy is walking a ton of batters, dude. You can't do that, especially on the road against the Yankees, one of the best lineups and the best home lineup in baseball. If you start walking guys, you're going to pay in a situation like this, so I don't like that. His numbers against the Yankees are actually not horrible. Only 14 at-bats against them. 214 average is really good, but an 812 OPS is kind of high, but a lot of it is because Judge has a home run against him. It's a very small sample size here. 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. I still don't really trust Cantillo, though. I can't trust a guy that has that type of walk rate, and he's going to have to go up against Cam Schlittler, who is probably going to win the Cy Young in the American League unless something ridiculous happens. He's got a 1.5 ERA, 0.85 whip, and while those numbers are pretty unsustainable, I would say, he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's a little bit less good at home, 2.38 ERA, still really good. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in every outing going all the way back into mid-April. Hasn't allowed more than 3 in any outing this season. Has a high strikeout rate, a low walk rate, a very low hit rate. Yeah, we get it. He's a top-tier pitcher in baseball already. He's going up against Cleveland here, who's not a very good offense. They basically haven't seen him before. Only Patrick Bailey has ever faced him, and he's 0 for 2 against him. No walks, no strikeouts. So, yeah, I think Schlittler obviously has an edge here. Yankees are at a situational disadvantage, but they have the matchup edge in all 3 phases of this game, in my opinion, although the bullpen edge is a little bit slighter than the other 2, of course. The money is all pouring in on the Yankees, too, so another reason why I don't want to fade the Yankees here. They got a minus 240 price on them here, though. You know the Yankees with Schlittler, though, you pretty much know you're paying too much of a price here, though. So I think the Yankees are still overpriced here. 89% of the cash on them, though. 54% of the tickets on Cleveland. That makes no sense to me. There's no way the public is playing Cleveland here. You think the public is, even though Cleveland has a good record, do you really think they're fading the Yankees with Schlittler pitching? Probably not. The total is also really quite low. It's 7.5 juice to the under. I don't think I'd want to try to touch the total either because Cantillo, he's a bit of a mystery, but I don't trust him. Perhaps the approach here is to actually go Cleveland under their team total in this game. That might be the way to go. If you think it's going to be a lower scoring game, Schlittler, I think, is likely to come in and dominate them, in my opinion. The hitting could be slowed down a bit by the situation and whatever. Cleveland, by the way, is starting a road trip. I forgot to mention that, coming off of losing to the Red Sox at home. So Cleveland starting a road trip is usually a positive focus spot. But even so, I still think that Cleveland under their team total probably makes the most sense. I mean, their offense just isn't that good. Even if they are focused, I don't see them doing a lot of damage at all against Schlittler. And then you got a rested Yankees bullpen as well coming into the equation, which isn't really that bad. So something like that might be the way to approach that game, but I'm not going to play the game. Kansas City at Cincinnati. Cincinnati, of course, I gave out the play on Cincinnati yesterday. It wound up being a no play because we needed Burns to start the game, specifying starting pitchers must start, which, by the way, if I don't mention specifying action, the default behavior is you're specifying listed starters must start, because usually that's a huge part of the handicap. So listed starters must start is usually what you want. But there are certain situations where action makes sense, where like if you're fading a team that's going with a bullpen game and they might change who's actually going to be like the opener or whatever, that would be the situation where you do that. But of course, Cincinnati did not win that game because they went with a bullpen game, and the reliever they had starting the game gave up a grand slam in the first inning. So I would have leaned over in that game, given that it was two bullpen games, which, like I said, I mentioned that in the comments. The game did go over, although after that grand slam in the top of the first, the game was lower scoring than that for a while. In fact, Kansas City's pitching actually did a lot better than you would think in that game. So maybe it's a good thing we did not play Cincinnati there. Or a good thing that we, wound up with a no play on that. Now, Cincinnati is at home, coming off an ugly loss, so maybe they will bounce back from that. Kansas City's not a good team, dude. And the National League has generally had a huge advantage over the American League in interleague play this year. National League is a better league by far this year. I'm saying, I'm not saying that you should just blindly play National League teams in interleague games. And in fact, I'm going against that in one of my plays today. Actually, two of them. Oh, shit. I'm going with American League teams with two of my plays today. Oh, my God, that's not good. But, you have to weigh the individual circumstances. But generally, National League has had the upper hand. Cincinnati does not have a good bullpen, and they used they used three relief pitchers yesterday, but for a lot of pitches. Richardson was the guy they used as the opener yesterday. Lyon Richardson, not Simeon Woods Richardson, who is, I think, still on Minnesota, but now coming out of their bullpen. Anyway, I'm rambling. Cincinnati's bullpen is bad. I don't think they set up very well here. Kansas City's bullpen is also bad, and they used four guys out of it yesterday. So whatever you want to do with this game, I would either bank on the bullpens being bad or just avoid the bullpens. Cincinnati's the 28th ranked bullpen here. Kansas City is dead last, although it's still the case that the Angels and the Astros both have worse bullpen ERAs, though. Cincinnati's offense has been a bit better recently. Like I said, they're ranked 13th. Kansas City, 25th. Their offense has definitely been struggling, even though they got some runs on the board yesterday. It was a decent situation for them to do it, though, and it's a hitter-friendly ballpark here. Noah Cameron is pitching for the Royals. He's a guy who I liked quite a bit last year. He had a good early part to his career. He struggled this season, though. 4.61 ERA, 1.41 whip. He's been worse on the road. That's not a good sign for pitching in a hitter-friendly road ballpark here. 5.57 road ERA. That's not great. But he's been pitching better recently. Over the month of May, he allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every outing. Kansas City lost every one of those games, but it wasn't really his fault. They weren't putting up any runs in those games. He only allowed 17 hits in 21 innings, had 6 walks, 20 strikeouts. So he seems like he's coming back into form, dude. He is pitching better recently. He's gone 5+ innings in his last 3 games. Pitched okay against the Yankees last time out. That's a decent sign. So I think Cameron is finally kind of coming back into form here, it looks like. His numbers over the course of the season, too many hits for sure. The walk rate is okay, and the strikeout rate is basically what you expect out of him. He's not a huge strikeout pitcher. Against the Reds, though, in 14 at-bats, he hasn't pitched that well. 429 batting average, 857 OPS, so I don't really know if I want to bank on Cameron here. Even though I generally like him, bad matchup numbers, not good on the road, even though he is coming back into form. Andrew Abbott is going for Cincinnati here. His ERA looks pretty good, 3.88. He's had a decent career. His whip this year, though, indicates that his ERA should be worse than this. 1.42 whip, that's not good. Abbott has been worse at home pretty significantly, 5.28 home ERA, which again makes sense. It's a hitter-friendly ballpark. But just like Cameron, Abbott has been pitching better over the last month as well. He allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every outing in May. 1 or fewer in all but one of them, went at least 5 innings in all of them. However, all but one of them was on the road, where he pitches better, but his one home start was a 6-inning shutout against Houston. So he did still pitch well in that game at home against a pretty good offense. So Abbott seems like he is finally coming around. His last start in April was pretty good as well. So Abbott seems to be kind of returning to what we think that he is, which is a decent pitcher. His strikeout walk ratio is an issue, though, 18-12 in May. That's not a good ratio. It's a pretty low strikeout rate, but the walk rate is also too high. So that's a bit of a concern. 19 hits in 28 innings, though. That's pretty good. He's allowed right around 1 hit per inning on the season, but he seems to be improving upon that. His walk rate is a problem, though, like I said. Over the course of the season, his walk rate hasn't really been fixed, so that's the worst number that he has there, and then his strikeout rate is not really that high either. But he's not really a huge strikeout pitcher. His numbers against Kansas City are not really good. In 23 at-bats, 304 batting average allowed, 776 OPS, 4-3 strikeout walk ratio. None of that looks good. What I will say is this game looks like it has a very strong market read on Kansas City here. The money looks like it's all coming in that way, and you can see that reflected here too. 58% of the tickets are on Cincinnati, which kind of makes sense. They have the better record. They have the pitcher with the better ERA, but 72% of the money on Kansas City. I can kind of see the argument for it. Cincinnati's a small favorite, around minus 120 something here. I could kind of see the argument for it. I mean, the argument is probably basically just that, well, you're getting an underdog price with Kansas City here. They did just end a losing streak yesterday, I think, so that gives them momentum. So that might be part of the argument. Like, they ended a 6-game losing streak, and a lot of times when a team ends a losing streak, they will play better in the next game because they'll have that new momentum. And in fact, Kansas City actually did just do that. They just ended like a 4-game losing streak not that long ago, and they won the next game after they did that. Then they went on another losing streak. So there are some arguments for it. Maybe the other argument is just this is a close pitching matchup, so grab the underdog. I think I would actually still prefer going over in this game to anything else. So I don't like it as much as I would have yesterday with 2 bullpen games. But the total's at 9. The odds maker's kind of telling you they think there are going to be some runs here. You got 2 bad bullpens. If either pitcher kind of falters in this game, you might be able to get this thing over the total, which is definitely possible. Even though both pitchers, like I said, they're both pitching better right now. They're both better generally than what their season has looked like so far. So that's kind of my concern with it, but probably a slight lean for me to the over in that game. The next game up will be a play for me, which is Toronto at Atlanta. And you probably already know what it is based off of my interleague talk. We are going to take Toronto money line first 5 innings here. You can get them at a little bit of an underdog price here against Atlanta. Yes, we're fading the Braves here. Now, there are a few good things about this. Obviously, I like the starting pitching matchup here for Toronto, and that's what I'm going to focus on here. But there are other things I like about this, too. Atlanta's in a negative spot. They're returning home from the road. They went to Boston and Cincinnati. Maybe not the worst road trip return spot, but still they've been away for a week, more than a week. When you return home, a lot of times you got to get back to family life. You get distracted. Both these teams were off yesterday as well. So that can kind of add to that a little bit, in my opinion. It can slow down the offenses a little bit as well. So I think that all kind of affects Atlanta. And Atlanta, by the way, they've not hit well at home this year, really. I know they're one of the best offenses in baseball, but their offense is one of the few that's actually better on the road than at home. So that is something to consider. Atlanta's offense, we had some unders on this show in their Red Sox series in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and we won both of those unders. So Atlanta, they do tend to play some lower scoring games at home. Their offense tends to struggle a bit more at home, so I think that's good for this as well. Atlanta has the best bullpen in baseball, so that's not going to factor into this handicap, other than the fact that I think that's a disadvantage for Toronto, right? So that's why I'm going first 5 here. I don't want to fade Atlanta's bullpen. They actually have the best bullpen ERA in baseball right now and best whip. So number 1 bullpen. Toronto's bullpen is not awful. They're 11th, so I'm going to take them out of the equation, even though they're both rested. It's not an advantage for Toronto, so I'm going to take that part of the game out. Atlanta's 3rd in offense, yes, we know, and Toronto's a bad offense right now. They're 25th. So, yes, Atlanta has a big offensive edge, but I think that's going to be countered by the fact that they don't hit as well in this ballpark, and they're having to go up against Kevin Gausman. That's who we're going to back in this outing here. Gausman is solid, dude. I mean, he's the Blue Jays' most consistent starter, in my opinion. 3.13 ERA, 1.09 whip. He's been almost as good on the road. His home road splits are a little bit in favor of home, but not too much. 3.45 road ERA, still pretty good. He's pitched well. Over the past month, he's only had one start where he gave up more than 2 earned runs. And yeah, he got shelled in that start against Tampa Bay, but there was some bad fielding in the game. Couldn't get out of the inning that he was in, and Tampa Bay had just faced him. So I think Tampa Bay made adjustments and hit him better the next time. But he still had 5 strikeouts and no walks in that outing. So there were some indicators he still didn't even pitch bad in that outing. And that was the only outing in May where he allowed a home run, too. But other than that, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all of his May starts. His 3 starts after that, he allowed 2 combined runs. He's got at least 5 innings in all of those. 26-4 strikeout walk ratio over that month. Good stuff. That shows that his command is there. But he did allow 32 hits in 28 1/3 innings, which is not good. But like I just said, he got really knocked around in that one start by Tampa Bay. And if you throw that out, his hit rate goes right back to normal. So Gausman is solid, dude. He's allowed only more than 3 earned runs. He's only done that twice this season. And he's allowed more than 2 only 3 times this season. His strikeout rate is close to 1 per inning. His hit rate is below 1 per inning, and his walk rate is low. Solid numbers across the board. And against the Braves, you know what's coming here. He does have good numbers against the Braves in a big sample of 91 at bats, almost 100. 91 at bats. He's got 19 strikeouts, 2 walks, 165 average allowed, 512 OPS. So we have a big sample here. Historically, Gausman has been good against these hitters, so that's a good sign as well for this. On the other side, we're going to fade Bryce Elder. I know he's pitched well this season, 2.5 ERA, 1.08 whip, but I don't consider him to be one of the top pitchers in the Braves rotation. He really struggled massively last year. He's been all over the place throughout his career. Like, he was really good early in his career. I think an injury derailed his career, and then as he tried to come back from injury, his strikeout rate was way down. He was trying to learn how to pitch differently. And while, yeah, it looked like he started pitching better again, he was pitching better this season. I know, 2.5 ERA, 1.08 whip. That's all good, yes. He's got a really low hit rate this year. That's good. His walk rate's a little bit high, and his strikeout rate is low. But like I said, his velocity, I think, is not going to return to what it was really early in his career, even though I know he's still not even old at 27. But I think the injury just kind of messed with that. So he is figuring out how to pitch otherwise. And yes, I know he's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every outing this season, except his most recent one, but you got to be concerned by what you see here because he got knocked around by the Red Sox, who are not a very good offense and hadn't been hitting well at home, and that was one of those starts where the Red Sox put up some offense finally at home. Elder only had 1 strikeout in that outing, too, so that's not a good sign, and he also had 9 walks in 29 innings in May, which isn't awful, but you'd like to see that number be a little bit better than that. 25 strikeouts, 24 hits. Those numbers were not that bad. But there's something here. It looks like Elder's kind of falling out of form a little bit here, in my opinion. You could argue that maybe that's not the case and that maybe that was a blip and it was an outlier and maybe he will bounce back. You definitely could make that argument. Elder has been better at home. We are fading that here. 2.08 ERA at home. But I don't like what we saw out of him in his last outing against the Red Sox. And against Toronto, he does not have good matchup numbers. They only have 6 hitters who have faced him. That's the majority of their starting lineup, at least. 36 at bats, 278 batting average, 899 OPS, 6-2 strikeout walk ratio. And yes, I know a lot of the damage is from Sanchez, who has the vast majority of those at bats. I get that, so he might be able to pitch around them, but yeah, I just think there's something about Elder. It looks like you can start fading him, man. So given the situation, given that Gausman has good matchup numbers here, the money is agreeing with me on this as well. Atlanta's around minus 120 something here for the full game. You're getting a similar price on Toronto in the first 5 here at a small dog price here. Probably you're getting a little bit of a bigger dog price on the full game. If you wanted to do that, I don't think I would disagree with Toronto full game. I just think isolating first 5, you get the best advantage that you can get with Toronto here early in the game when, the Atlanta might be still dealing with the home distractions while the game is beginning, and you get the starting pitching advantage here, in my opinion. 75% of tickets, 67% of the cash on Atlanta, so the ticket percentages on them, less of the money. We'll take Toronto as the small underdog, first 5, and back Gausman, who I consider to be more trustworthy than Elder, who is not his elder. Gausman is his elder. Who's your daddy, basically? All right, so that is my first play. This next game up, I considered making a play. It's an interesting game, White Sox and Minnesota. Minnesota actually got the win yesterday, ending a losing streak. So that's one thing, because I actually like the White Sox in today's game, but I was considering maybe some other ways to approach it. But Minnesota ending a losing streak yesterday with that win, a 5-game losing streak, that might give them new momentum here. So that is a positive for Minnesota in a way, even though the White Sox may be in bounce-back mode after losing. So there is that as well. The White Sox used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Minnesota used 3 as well. Minnesota's bullpen is a train wreck, though. They are 27th. The White Sox bullpen is actually a bit more tolerable here at 17th, although I still don't really like either bullpen. But Minnesota's is worse. White Sox offense has been shockingly good. They're number 5 right now in offense, tied with the other shocking team this year, Pittsburgh. And the Twins are 15th in offense here. Now, the other thing about Minnesota, though, is they just played the White Sox 2 series ago in Chicago, and the White Sox won 3 out of 4 in that series, so that might keep Minnesota focused here as well. Like, after winning yesterday, I don't think Minnesota's going to overlook, a hot White Sox team that's still ahead of them in the standings, and a White Sox team that just took 3 out of 4 against them, you know what I mean? So I think Minnesota will still be motivated here. As far as the starting pitching, it is interesting. When I first looked at this, my thought was an under because I kind of like both of these starting pitchers here. Davis Martin has been another real surprise this year. He's pitching really well for the White Sox. Somehow, at the age of 29, he's having a breakout season. And while I don't think his numbers are totally sustainable, I don't think that it's a total mirage either. He's got a 2 ERA, .99 whip. He's been a little bit worse on the road, but 2.61 ERA, not bad. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs twice this season, and once was his first start of the season. The other was a recent one at San Francisco where he got a little bit unlucky, I think, based on his command numbers and whatever. His command numbers, in fact, were really good in the month of May, 38-6 strikeout walk ratio and 21 hits allowed in 30 2/3 innings, including his most recent start, which was against Minnesota. He allowed 1 earned run on 2 hits in 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. So he did really well in that outing. Now the question is, does Minnesota now make adjustments and hit him better this time? They might, but even if they do, that still might not be good enough for Minnesota to win this game here. You know what I mean? Like, if Martin's going to do worse here and he still allows like 3 runs or something in 6 innings, you know what I mean? That still might be enough to get Chicago a win here. Chicago's won Martin's last 8 starts, and in fact, 10 of 11 of his starts they've won, and the only one they lost, Chicago didn't score any runs. Martin's been really, really good, man. He's allowed way fewer than 1 hit per inning, over 1 strikeout per inning, and his walk rate is also low. And Minnesota has seen him before because he's in their division, and even when Martin wasn't pitching well, Minnesota still didn't really hit him that well. His overall numbers against Minnesota are good, including that last start against them. 72 at-bats, 222 average, 645 OPS, 17-11 strikeout walk ratio. That walk number is the only real concern here. The rest of these numbers are good, so I think Martin will likely pitch well here again. He is going up against Connor Prelip. I think the handicap on him is going to be a little bit different, man. Prelip is a young pitcher. He was pitching well, but he started to fall apart here, man. He's got a 5.13 ERA, 1.35 whip. Not great. He's been really good at home, though, 2.81 home ERA, so that's good. But his last 2 outings were both very, very ugly. He was pitching pretty well up until that point. The Red Sox were able to get to him, even though the White Sox still managed to somehow win that game in Fenway. Prelip did not pitch well there. I think I lost an under. The game went over, obviously. I think I lost an under on the show in that game. Then his next game, I think I might have at least leaned to an under in his next game, and that game got completely out of hand. He got lit up by the White Sox in that game. So now here's the thing. He had an unfamiliarity advantage going into that game. I talk about this when a young pitcher has an advantage or a young pitcher 10-7 advantage against lineups that have never faced him before, and that was the case with Prelip. The White Sox still knocked him around. So now the thing is, his unfamiliarity advantage against the White Sox is gone. They just saw him. So that might be an extra disadvantage to him. Although, how could he really pitch worse than this? I don't expect him to pitch worse than he did in his last outing this time. But even if he improves on that, I don't think it's going to be good enough. You know what I mean? So I like the White Sox in this game for these reasons. Prelip also has been walking a lot of guys here. 24 strikeouts, 12 walks over the month of May. That's not good. In 24 and a third innings, 25 hits allowed. That walk rate is bad, dude. Over the course of the season, still a fairly high walk rate. It's a pretty low hit rate, which is good, and his strikeout rate's good, though. So he does have some talent, I think, but he's starting to really fall out of form here. The White Sox are going to be, I think, the first team to face him twice, and that's the thing. Like with Martin, I know Martin just pitched against the Twins, but he's so familiar to the Twins, I don't think that matters as much. You know what I mean? Because they've already seen him a bunch. With Prelip, the disadvantage comes in when you've never seen him before, and then once you have, if you see him again right away, I think that's the biggest disadvantage a young pitcher can have if they're facing that same team twice in a row, facing them for that second time ever. So I think he's at a disadvantage here. His numbers against the White Sox are terrible, which makes sense because it was just that one start that he made against them. 17 at-bats, 471 average allowed, 1,056 OPS, 4-2 strikeout walk ratio. So I like the White Sox here. They even, I think, have a bullpen advantage here, but the money is not agreeing with me on this. The White Sox are favored, and, do they deserve to be a road favorite here? I don't know. It's debatable. Maybe not. Maybe they shouldn't be a road favorite here. Martin is getting a lot of respect from the odds makers now. Minus 120 or so is the price here on them. It looks like some of the sharper books, though, like the Vegas books here, have that number a little bit lower, though, which is a little bit of a lean towards Minnesota there, which that worries me a little bit. The market indicators are kind of indicating towards Minnesota. 93% of tickets, 92% of the cash on a very public White Sox side here. I'm going to skip the game, but I do I lean to the White Sox in that game. I considered putting it on my card, but I'll stay off of it. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, the next game is another one of my plays, actually, and it's going to be a total. So you probably know what it is, San Francisco and Milwaukee. It's one of my patented totals that I like to do. I feel like we just had this matchup not that long ago between these two teams. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Yesterday, though, I don't know what happened with my man Raup yesterday. He got routed in the game yesterday, it looks like. Good thing we didn't go with anything related to what I thought about that game yesterday. Milwaukee won yesterday's game 16-2. That's insane. So maybe San Francisco will be a little bit motivated here to bounce back. Although San Francisco is not a very good team, and although their pitching is usually what's good about them, their hitting has been the problem over the last couple of years. And even though I know San Francisco broke out with a huge offensive game a couple games ago, it was at Coors Field against some bad Colorado pitching. That is not what we're looking at here. We're looking at the Brewers at home here. The Brewers did use 4 relief pitchers yesterday, though, because they went with a bullpen game yesterday, but they mostly use long relief type of guys. So, and they have a good starter on the mound today, which I forgot to mention. I forgot to bring up the best bet visuals here. We're going under in this game if that wasn't obvious. Under 7.5 in this game. Minus 120 was the best price I could find out there. Minus 125 was around. You might have to go under 7, which I don't like as much. Of course, StreamYard is putting a timer on this. Come on, man. I hate when it does this. I'm going to fix that right now. Yeah, the timers are off on the rest of them. There you go. Under 7.5 there. I think you could still find it around this price out there. I'd prefer to have the hook here because 7 is a key number. You need to break a 3-3 tie. So if you're taking under 7, there's a much higher likelihood of a push there or even a loss. But I would still probably agree with it under 7, obviously. If I'm recommending under 7.5, I still agree with it. But I think finding an under 7.5, even upwards of minus 125, I think might be worth it here. Now, yes, Milwaukee used some of their long relief men here, but they have a good starter on the mound and they have a good bullpen, so I'm okay with going full game on this. They have the number 10 ranked bullpen here, one of the best bullpen ERAs. Giants bullpen, I know, is ranked 21st. I know a little sketchy, but their ERA is still below 4. Their ERA is better than like all these teams around them. So I don't think their bullpen is that bad. If you want to go first 5 on this, you could do that too. San Francisco only used 2 relief pitchers as well, and I think they were kind of long relief men too, because the game was completely out of hand yesterday, which also makes me like this under, because when you have a game where one team does all the damage, right? So it's a high-scoring game, 16 runs from Milwaukee yesterday, but it's a blowout. I think it makes sense to look towards the under in the next game, because the public's not going to want to play an under because, oh my God, Milwaukee just scored 16 runs yesterday. But also, so you're fading kind of the public sentiment after what happened yesterday. There might be a little bit of an overreaction to it. But the good thing about it being a blowout is that none of the better pitchers pitched out of the bullpens. You know what I mean? When the game's completely out of hand, you see stuff like, oh, we're going to have our catcher go in and throw an inning. You know what I mean? So the bullpens, usually in a game like that, the bullpens actually are set up a little bit better in the next game than you would think. So I like that here. The hitting hasn't really been that great for either team. Milwaukee's just come around a little bit. They're 19th. San Francisco, I know they're ranked 15th right now, but they were a bottom several offense before that one breakout game where they scored 19 in Coors Field. I'm not buying it. They're not a good offense. So I think this is good in that respect as well, that the offenses could be held down a bit here. And I like the starting pitching matchup. We got 2 pretty young pitchers who are pretty unfamiliar with the offenses they're facing here. Trevor McDonald is pitching for the Giants. He let us down the last time we went with an under with this game, I know, but I'm going to go back to it again here. I think he's not a bad pitcher. He's got a 4.34 ERA, not good, but a 1.07 whip is good. Indicates that his ERA should probably be better than that. He's been good on the road. You know, it doesn't make a ton of sense because San Francisco is a pitcher-friendly park, but a 3 road ERA, so we're going to play into the better of his home road splits here. He had one bad start at home against the White Sox, and that was that start where we lost on an under in that one. I think Davis Martin was on the other side of that one. I don't know what happened in that game, but whatever. I might be wrong about Martin being involved in that game, but I think he was. I don't know. That was just a bad game all around there. McDonald was really bad in that game, but he did have 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, so his command numbers were okay there. Actually, he really got unlucky. I mean, look at what his pitching line was in that game. 3 hits, yet he allowed 7 earned runs on 3 hits and 1 walk. Are you serious? Like, how is that even possible? And none of the runs were unearned. I don't even get that. But if you hold a team to fewer than 1 hit an inning and only walk 1 guy while you're out there, the chances you're going to get blasted for that many runs are next to nothing. So I think he actually got unlucky. I think that was a misleading pitching line there. And then if you look at all the rest of his starts, he's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all the rest of them. 27-6 strikeout walk ratio overall this season. 25 hits allowed in 29 innings. All the rest of these numbers are good. This includes a start on the road against the Dodgers where he was able to hold them in check enough that San Francisco won the game, even though they got some hits off him. He worked his way through it, and then the next outing, he had to go to the A's stadium, which we know is a very hitter-friendly stadium, and he pitched well there, too. Last time out, he pitched pretty well against an Arizona lineup that is not a joke. So I like McDonald, dude. I think his one bad start is misleading, and he's unfamiliar to Milwaukee. So he has an extra advantage here of being a talented young pitcher who the opposing offense has never faced before. So I think McDonald sets up to pitch well here. And he has pitched a little bit otherwise. He made 2 starts last year and made 1 relief appearance that year and 1 relief appearance the year before that. And he was actually good in those appearances too. So he has a little bit of major league history here, including as a starter. So that looks good as well. Then on the other side, of course, we have the more trustworthy of the 2 pitchers, the more established pitcher, Kyle Harrison. I like this as well. He's been awesome, dude, which doesn't make me feel great because the Red Sox traded him away for Caleb Durbin and a couple other guys. 1.57 ERA for Harrison, 1.03 whip. And while, again, those numbers are like unsustainably good, he's obviously good and his other numbers support that. He's been a little bit better at home, although his home road splits are pretty insignificant. He's allowed no runs over his last 3 starts, including one on the road against the Cubs where he struck out 11. He's doing really, really well right now, obviously. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in every start this entire season. well over 1 strikeout per inning, well below 1 hit per inning. Walk rate is fairly low as well. All of his numbers are good. Brewers have won all but 2 of his starts this season, and they've won his last 7 straight starts, including also he had one against the Yankees where he did struggle a little bit in that game, but he kind of worked his way through it enough that Milwaukee still wound up getting a win there, and the bullpen actually pitched well there, so that's a good sign for this under here as well, because that game, I think we might have had the under in that game, and it landed 7, so that, I think, wound up still going under the total. If we had that, I don't remember. And the start before that, Harrison had another shutout, a 1-hit, 6-inning shutout against Pittsburgh. It was also a good offense with double-digit strikeouts. Yeah, we get it. Harrison's good. Now, the other thing about this is he's facing San Francisco possibly for the first time since he was, so San Francisco had him until right at the end of last year. The Red Sox only had him make 2 starts. Now he's on Milwaukee this year. So this is going to be his first time facing one of the teams that got rid of him, San Francisco, which is, I think, where he pretty much started his career. So he was on San Francisco since 2023, had a full season with them in 2024 pretty much as a starter. Then they got rid of him last year in the Devers trade. Pitched a little bit with the Red Sox, but this is going to be his first time going up against San Francisco, so I think that's an extra motivational edge. Like I just said, I mentioned that with one of these other pitchers today too. It applies to Harrison as well. Usually when these starting pitchers go up against the team that got rid of them, especially if it's the team that he spent almost his entire career with, usually this guy's going to get pumped to face his former team and want to pitch well, you know what I mean? Like, prove himself, be like, this, you got rid of me, well, I'm going to show you, you know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit of an extra motivator here. Even though, yes, I know that means San Francisco is familiar with how he pitches and whatever, but it also means they haven't really seen him in a real game environment where he's really trying to get them out, except for Arias, basically, who does basically all the damage against him. San Francisco has 3 hitters who have faced him before. They're 4 for 10 off him with 3 strikeouts and no walks, but it's such a small sample size. I'm going to almost just kind of throw this out. Really, what you need to read into is San Francisco is pretty unfamiliar with Harrison. Most of their lineup hasn't seen him before, and he's been pitching great this season. So I think it's not going out on a limb to say I think it's more likely Harrison's going to pitch well than not here, especially against the San Francisco lineup that I don't think is good. So under is the call here. And finally, we see market numbers coming in here. 80% of the tickets, 93% of the cash on the under in this one. So the money is backing it. We got 7.5 juice to the under at various outlets here. If this thing would allow me to scroll up so I can see what book this is. What is going on? Dude, this site it needs to be better designed. I think that was FD, that site. It looks like it has the best number for you on this under right now. By the way, the money is heavily coming in on Toronto, by the way, so I like to see that too. This is the only game that looks like it has the total numbers. Actually, San Diego Philly looks like it does as well. But so the under looks like it's getting some action. I don't think the public is really coming in and playing it under here. I mean, these are still not name pitchers here, so I think this is mostly professional money here. But yeah, I think you'll find the best number at the FD book. It's right around, it looks like it's at minus 118 right now. So I would go even up to probably about minus 125 to get the hook on that. That's the play in that game. All right, where are we at here? We're over an hour 10 already because I've been rambling. Usually I take a break when I have about 5 games left to talk about. All right, Texas and St. Louis. I do not have a play on this game, and Firefox did not let me open a new tab there. These 2 teams played yesterday. Texas won the game 2-1. Jacob deGrom with another win yesterday. Pitched well, even though I pointed out there were some things I didn't like about the way deGrom was pitching on the road, but he's going to be a Hall of Fame pitcher, man. Apparently, it was his son's 3rd birthday yesterday, so maybe that motivated deGrom a little bit. I didn't factor that into my handicap. I was not aware of that, but congratulations to all of them, to the deGrom family. Texas used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, though, including some of their better relievers, so that's not great. They have a good bullpen. They have the better bullpen here, but their bullpen rest scenario is not that great. St. Louis did use 3 themselves, though, in a close, low-scoring game here. So I'm going to still give Texas a bullpen advantage here. They are the number 9 ranked bullpen. St. Louis is 18th. I think Texas is probably better than 9th, too. St. Louis has the better offense, but they've fallen off a bit. They're all the way down to 20th. They're actually tied with the Red Sox, the Marlins, and the Rangers. So both these teams are tied right now in OPS at 20th, although I think St. Louis's offense is somewhat better. This is a pitcher-friendly park here, by the way, in St. Louis. Both of these teams play in pitcher-friendly ballparks. Nathan Eovaldi is getting the start for the Rangers. He was shaky at the beginning of the season, but he's obviously turned it on. He was great last year, and he's pitching pretty well again right now. 3.93 ERA, 1.11 whip. That's good. That whip indicates his ERA probably should be a little bit lower. He's been good on the road, 3.59 road ERA. Don't know why he's struggled at home so much so far, because that's usually a very pitcher-conducive ballpark there. Didn't pitch well last time out, really, against Houston. Gave up 5 runs at home. But if you dig into that, he went 7 innings. He only allowed 4 hits, 2 walks. He allowed 2 home runs. So the home run ball has been a problem for Eovaldi. But it looks like he got kind of unlucky in that outing, because basically everybody that reached base scored against him. And he had 6 strikeouts. So I don't think that was actually a bad start from him. And Houston had just faced him 2 starts prior to that, too, and he had dominated them. So maybe they made some adjustments there a little bit. But Eovaldi is pitching well. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 4 of his last 5 outings. Overall, pretty good numbers. Almost 1 strikeout per inning, well below 1 hit per inning. Walk rate is fine, and his home run rate is the only problem. He's allowed too many home runs so far, so he has to fix that to some degree here. St. Louis, even though Eovaldi's been around for a long time, he's mostly been in the National League for quite a while now. American League for quite a while. I think he was in the National League really early in his career on the Marlins, if I'm right about that. Yeah, I remember him being on the Marlins. He was on the Dodgers, I guess, prior to that. But he's been in the American League for a long time. Yankees, Tampa Bay, Boston, Texas. So that's why St. Louis has basically never faced him before. He's been around for forever. St. Louis has got a young lineup. Only 2 of their hitters have faced him before. Wynn is the only guy that has a hit off him. They're 1 for 6 combined with a single, no strikeouts, no walks. So Eovaldi is actually unfamiliar to them, so that might be a little bit of an extra advantage to them, even though, of course, Eovaldi's no mystery to the major leagues, though. But it looks like he might pitch well here based on all the things that we just looked at. Dustin May is the pitcher I would trust less here going for St. Louis, but he's actually been decent recently. He's coming off having a pretty good May, but maybe May just pitches well in May. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at if that's been the case or not in prior years. His overall numbers don't look very good, though. 4.57 ERA, 1.3 whip. He's been a little bit worse at home, 4.86 home ERA. But like I said, his May was actually good. He went 6+ innings in all but 1 outing, allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all but that 1 outing against Pittsburgh. They're a good lineup, so maybe give him a pass for that. He still wasn't even really that bad in that outing. 29 strikeouts in 30 1/3 innings in the month of May, 22 hits. All those numbers are good. The only problem was 10 walks. He had too many walks. So that was the one issue there that month. And then the hitting didn't really help him either. St. Louis lost 4 of his 5 outings there. His overall numbers, they're not really that bad. He's allowed right around 1 hit per inning. His strikeout rate's a little low, but right in line with, I think, what you kind of expect out of him. His walk rate's not really that bad either. So his overall numbers are really not that bad. Texas has not seen him much at all. Only Nimmo and Peterson have ever faced him, but they've hit him well when they have faced him. They're 3 for 9 with a couple of doubles in there, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 333 average, 1,010 OPS, but it's a very limited sample size. I'm not going to do anything with this one, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Texas, to me, they have the pitching edge here, both of the starting pitcher and the bullpens, but the ticket percentages on Texas, 59%, 53% of the cash, though, on St. Louis. So the money's indicating on St. Louis. And it looks like it's going to be a low-scoring game. Texas is favored on the road. Eovaldi getting respect in the market here at around -110, maybe a little bit less than that. The Vegas, sharp casino lean seems to be kind of leaning towards St. Louis here, along with the money. So do with that information what you want. I guess maybe the thinking is, this matchup is probably a little bit closer than maybe people think that it is. So, maybe it'll be a close, low-scoring game. The odds makers seem to think so because the total's 7. And usually when it's that low, it's that low for a reason. So maybe there is some indicator that maybe it makes sense that there's just a little bit of value playing St. Louis as a home underdog. I would not want to do it. I think their bullpen's a big disadvantage too. So I don't really see it. If you do it, maybe you go first 5 only. I don't know. And then you just hope for a pitching duel that's close. But if you're hoping for a pitching duel, maybe you should just play the under. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to go full game under, though. Texas's better relievers not being available and St. Louis's bullpen not being particularly trustworthy. So I don't know. It's a game I don't want to have any money on, though. The next game up is going to be my last play. And you probably know what it is based on my interleague discussion. I'll be right back. Hopefully we're going to get a couple of good plays out of this today, but I like these plays, so hopefully we can get it done. And watch the White Sox. We'll lose at least one of my plays, and the White Sox will cash. Just watch that happen, because the White Sox are like one of the ones that was close to making my cut and didn't. But all right, I'll be right back. Okay. Next game, like I said, is going to be a play for me, and we might need to break out the Van Halen for this one. I don't have a drop for this, and I know there's copyright and stuff like that. You might be able to use a short clip of a song. Nobody's going to get what I'm even saying here, but we're going to take the A's in the first 5 innings on the money line, which you can get at a little bit of an underdog price here. I'm going to take their bullpen out because their bullpen is definitely at a bit of a disadvantage here. They're not a good bullpen. But I like this play, and the reason why I made the Van Halen reference is because we're gonna jump on Gage Jump here. I don't like the market read here. The money is fading me in this one. 52% of the tickets are on the A's, 72% of the cash on the Cubs. But it's a low total, so it means wind is going to be blowing in, it looks like, basically, in Wrigley Field. I almost said Coors. Wrigley Field. 7.5 juice to the under is the total here. I think an underdog is a lot of times the way to look when the total is low because it means a lower scoring game. So if you're getting plus money on what's supposed to be a close game, a lot of times it makes sense, but I like this. For a lot of reasons, including Gage Jump, which is one of the best names in baseball, by the way. Neither of these teams played yesterday, so I think it's going to be a lower scoring game for that reason as well, because the offenses may have cooled off a little bit. We may have some distracted hitting here on the Cubs side especially, and the bullpens get a chance to rest. Now, the Cubs are in a bad spot. This is very, very similar to that Toronto play that I gave out, in that the Cubs are returning home from the road. I know they were staying within their division, though. They went to Pittsburgh and St. Louis. It's not exactly a horrible travel spot, but it's still negative. Returning home from a road trip. You've been away for a week. You still got to get back to home life. You got stuff to do. You're playing an American League team. I don't know, man. It seems like the Cubs, even though they've been struggling a bit recently, they might not have full focus in a spot like this on an AL team. Meanwhile, the A's, they're coming in. They are having to travel time zones. I get it. But it's easier for a team to travel from west further east, in my opinion, because the shift in time zone doesn't, affect their biological clock the same way. Like a team that's an easterly team going all the way out to the Pacific Coast to play like a late night game. They're playing like midnight their time by the end of it. You know what I mean? Like a West Coast team going and playing in Wrigley Field at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, that's not a problem because like they're playing at like 6 p.m. their time. So it's like playing a standard evening game for them based on their biological clock. So I don't think that's an issue. They're starting a road trip off of a bad homestand. They lost all but one game. They did beat the Yankees once during that homestand, but coming off a bad homestand, a lot of times the team will be focused for that reason too. Just get out of home where things aren't working. The A's tend to not play well at home anyway. They don't have a home advantage in that horrible AAA stadium they play in, so they might relish in going on the road here, man. So I think it's a better spot for the A's here. We're taking the bullpen out. Like I said, the Cubs do have the better bullpen here. They're ranked 8th. The A's are 22nd, so I'm just going to take that part out of this equation here because obviously that's not an advantage for the A's there. The A's have been hitting well. They're number 9. The Cubs are number 10. So the A's can compete with the Cubs on the offensive side of things. But like I said, we're going to back Gage Jump here. He's a young prospect. He's made one start so far. And I know, why would we do this when he has a 7.2 ERA and a 2 whip? Well, that was only one start. He made his first career start, and it was in the A's stadium, by the way. So I think you got to give him a little bit of a pass for that because that is a hitter-friendly ballpark. And yes, Seattle was able to hit him. They got 9 hits off him in 5 innings. But what I like about this is the A's, I think this is going to give him some confidence because the A's were like, whatever, like we're just going to let him go 5 innings, 88 pitches, full starter's workload, and he had 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, so his command was on point. So I like that, even though he allowed hits. Seattle's been hitting better recently. It was in the A's stadium. I think he's going to pitch well in this game, in my opinion. Going on the road this time. I think it's going to be a more pitcher-friendly environment this time here, of course, because he's going away from the A's stadium here. And now that he has a game under his belt, I think that's going to allow him to settle in because a lot of times a guy might have some nerves in his first start in the majors. Now, I did look at Jump. His numbers in the minors were a little bit questionable, I will say. He pitched a lot in AAA this year, and he had a good strikeout number and stuff like that. He definitely could fool hitters at the major league level. His problem was the walks. But what's good about this is we can see right here, he only walked 1 guy in 5 innings in his first major league outing. So we might not have to be as worried about the walks as maybe it would look like looking at his AAA numbers. So I know the walks at AAA don't look that good. His whip wasn't really that good. His ERA was, I think, in the lowish 4s, which isn't really great. But this guy's considered to be a really good prospect. There's a reason for that. He throws mid to upper 90s on the fastball. He's got a deep pitch mix. He has some good moving stuff. I guess he has a slider and a sweeper that move differently, a curveball and a changeup. And I guess his moving stuff is good and a good change of pace from his fastball, and he's a lefty, and I guess he has a kind of deceptive arm angle as well. Although he's from Aliso Viejo, California, so does that mean his last name is actually pronounced Hoomp? Gahe Hoomp. That's his actual name. Maybe it is. I don't know. Gage Jump sounds like an awesome name, though. But yeah, we're going to go with him here. The Cubs have never seen him before. He's a talented young pitcher, so I think he has the advantage over hitters that haven't seen him before. So let's do it, man. We'll go with the young pitcher here. We're going up against Jameson Taillon, who, I know he's been around for a while. I think his ERA is not indicative of what he's been this year. I think he's a little bit better than that, but he's struggled a bit this year. He's got a 5.37 ERA, 1.28 whip. Not excellent, but his whip indicates his ERA should be a little bit better than it is. He's been better at home. So, yes, we are fading his home road splits here, I know. 4.33 home ERA, but still, that's not exactly excellent. He's struggled recently, too, so he's not in good form right now. And one of those starts was at home against Houston. He got lit up in that outing. His last 3 outings, he's allowed 4+ runs in each of them, 5 innings or less in each of those outings as well. He's not in good form right now. Had a very devilish 6.66 ERA in the month of May. Allowed more than 1 hit per inning. Did have a 20-7 strikeout walk ratio, which isn't horrible, but 30 hits allowed in 25 2/3 innings. Not great. He's definitely looking like he's he's just falling out of form. He's out of form right now. Overall numbers are not horrible, though, like I said, on the season. Fewer than 1 hit per inning. Strikeout rate is about what you would expect out of him, not too high. 20 walks is a bit concerning, though. He's walked a lot of guys, and then I think he may have allowed the most home runs in baseball. And I think certainly he's allowed the most per inning. He's allowed 19 home runs already. He's allowing basically a home run every 3 innings. That is insane. So that is not something that I would want to back. I'm okay with fading that, in fact. He allowed 10 home runs in the month of May, 8 over the last 3 outings. That's just crazy, dude. And I know home runs are a bit fluky, but still, it looks like it's a trend with him. And going up against the A's, you guessed it, his numbers are not great against the A's. In 33 at-bats, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk is pretty good. 273 average, 870 OPS, though. So while they don't kill him, they do have the advantage over him historically here. So in a decent enough sample that we can gauge something from that. So we're going to do it, man. This is the only one of my plays where I guess I'm fading the market here in this one, even though you would think that the Cubs would be a public side in this game, though, because nobody knows who the hell Jump is, unless the public wants to jump on him just because his name is so ridiculous. I don't know, but I like it here. We'll take the A's in the first 5, and of course, remember the market read is those are the numbers for the full game market. First 5 market's a little bit different, so. Of course, we're excluding the disadvantageous A's bullpen here. Let's do it. That is my last play of the day. So that's it for that. But if you want to hear my other opinions, of course, you can hang on. I'm going to finish off the baseball slate, which is taking forever. And then WNBA has a bunch of games today, too. I'll get through that pretty quick, though, I think, because I don't really have a strong opinion on any of it. And then hockey I'll talk about as well. Houston and Pittsburgh, these teams did not play yesterday either, and this is an interesting pitching matchup in this game. Houston did just lose to Milwaukee in a shutout at home, so Houston's in a decent bounce-back spot, I think, situationally, staying at home off of getting shut out at home. That's not a bad spot. Pittsburgh is coming in, starting a road trip with momentum off a sweep of Minnesota, so Pittsburgh may be in a positive spot, too, because I don't think they're going to be in a letdown spot after sweeping Minnesota. Like, who cares? It's Minnesota. So I think Pittsburgh does have their momentum back here. No bullpen usage because neither team played yesterday. I don't like either bullpen, really. Pittsburgh's is okay. It's 16th. Houston's is still a train wreck, even though they've improved a little bit recently. They're still ranked 26th in WHIP, but they still have the second worst bullpen ERA to the Anaheim Angels. Houston still has a very bad bullpen. Although we'll see what happens if this improvement continues. Both offenses have been good. Pittsburgh 5th, Houston 7th. And of course, based on that, you might think, well, it makes sense that this would be an over game. Maybe it does. Bubba Chandler is pitching for Pittsburgh. You know, I like Chandler. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he has good stuff, but his walk number has been unbelievably high. Like, if he stopped walking people, I think he'd be a really good pitcher. He's got a 4.85 ERA, 1.52 WHIP. Obviously, that is not good. He's been better on the road, though, 4.08 road ERA. He's showing some signs of improving maybe a bit here. Over the past few starts, he had a double-digit strikeout total in one of them. Walk rate maybe went down a little bit there, but still in the month of May, 25-16 strikeout walk ratio. That's still not going to cut it. That is way too many walks and 20 hits allowed in 23 innings. And Pittsburgh, in fact, lost all 5 of those games. They've lost 9 of his last 10 starts. That's not good, dude. And it's because of the walks. A lot of it is because of the walks. He's got a pretty good strikeout rate, 1 per inning, well below 1 hit per inning, but the walk rate is unbelievable. He has one of the highest walk rates in baseball. You got to cut that out, man. He's got to figure out something and stop being that wild. Maybe he will. He's still young. He's 23. I think we could see a big improvement from him if he does fix that problem. But right now it is not fixed. But Houston has never faced him before, so that's where it's like, well, which way is this going to go? He's not pitching well right now, and the unfamiliarity edge has not been that advantageous to him throughout this season, of course, because he is facing lineups that haven't seen him before in a lot of these games, and they're still getting to him, or he's getting to himself because of the walks. So that's the problem. You have to try to gauge, is his walk number going to be better? And that's a really hard thing to figure out. So I think there's a wide a wide variance here with Bubba Chandler. He could be excellent. He could be horrible, all depending on how wild he is. So I don't know what we're going to get out of him here, man. Mike Burrows is pitching for Houston, and this is interesting because he's going up against a team that got rid of him. Pittsburgh is where he was for the early part of his career. The last 2 seasons, he had a full season with Pittsburgh last year. He actually pitched fairly well for Pittsburgh last year, and he's not doing well this year for Houston. 5.4 ERA, 1.45 whip, but he might get pumped up because he's facing the team that got rid of him, just like I said with Harrison and some of these other guys. These pitchers might pitch a little bit better going up against a team that got rid of them because they want to prove themselves, prove that it was a mistake that team got rid of them. So Burrows might have some extra motivation here. But unlike Harrison, who I definitely trust because he's been pitching great, Burrows has not, like I said. So he's not a very trustworthy pitcher here. He's been worse at home, too, 6.92 ERA. He did pitch well in his last game against Texas. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk in 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. That was at Texas, though, where it seems like every game is low scoring. Texas doesn't score a lot there. But, Burrows looks like he is pitching a little bit better because he did have a good start in Cincinnati on May 8th, which is a hitter-friendly ballpark. He fell back and he pitched poorly in the next outing at home, of course, against Seattle. Then his next outing wasn't too bad at Minnesota, although he did still have too many walks in that one. He's showing some signs of a little bit of improvement here, so I will say that. He's allowed fewer than 1 hit per inning over the month of May. 30 and 31 and 2/3 innings, 21 strikeouts, not a high strikeout rate, though 9 walks isn't really that bad. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. His strikeout rate is pretty low on the season. His hit rate is too high, though. He's allowed over 1 hit per inning by quite a bit. That's not good. On top of 13 home runs as well. So he's got to get those numbers down a bit, and his walk rate hasn't really been that great either. So he's still got some problems, even though it looks like he is improving a bit. Pittsburgh, of course, will be a motivated outing for him, and only Ozuna has ever faced him before, and he's 0 for 1 against him. So Burrows does have the unfamiliarity against Pittsburgh, too, even though they know who he is because he was on their team, but they've never faced him in a real game environment. So I don't think I want an over here because there is a chance both starting pitchers actually do well here. The money is backing Pittsburgh for what that's worth. 82% of tickets, 59% of the cash on Houston at around a -110 price here. So the money is fading Houston and coming in on the Bubba Chandler side here. Again, I think there's kind of a wide variance for both pitchers in this one. Totals at 9. If you wanted to go over, you might still get this thing over if one of the two pitchers struggles, and then you have a bad Houston bullpen. Pittsburgh's bullpen isn't that great, but the offenses may have cooled off a bit because they rested yesterday. The bullpens have everybody at their disposal today, so I don't want to do it, but those are my thoughts on that game. I don't really have any thoughts on that game that are worthwhile. Colorado at Anaheim. These two teams played yesterday. I thought it would be a high-scoring game, and it was. Maybe I should have added the over in that game, but, I was correct. The way that I would have played that was Anaheim over their team total, and they got way over their team total. Despite losing the game 9-8, they still went over their own team total there. I just thought Soriano would potentially pitch better in that game, but he's just bad at home, dude. So that game, it wasn't over. I was correct about that, but didn't make the cut for me. Is this game also going to be an over? I don't know. I don't like it as much as yesterday's, really. Colorado used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Anaheim used 5, it looks like, although Suter for only 3 pitches, though. So he'd be available again. These bullpens are both bad, though. Anaheim's ranked 29th. You could definitely make the argument they're the worst bullpen in baseball, though. They have the worst ERA. They're bad. Not much better is Colorado at 25th. And then the offenses, Colorado is 17th, and the Angels are 18th. So these offenses have started to come around again a bit recently. These starting pitchers, though, I don't really want to go over with this particular starting pitching matchup. Sugano is pitching for the Rockies here. Tomoyuki Sugano. He's been okay. The advanced analytics guys hate this guy because he's kind of just a junk pitcher. He's He's come over to the majors at kind of an old age from pitching professionally in Japan for a long time. But the one thing about it is I don't think he's intimidated pitching in the majors, because he's been a professional pitcher for so long. His numbers are still all right, especially given the fact that he's pitching in Coors Field. He's got a 4.01 ERA, 1.25 whip, 3.62 road ERA, so he pitches better away from Coors Field. Hasn't exactly been great recently, but maybe not awful. Really just his strikeout rate is really low. He went 26 and 2/3 innings in the month of May. Did allow too many hits, 29 hits, but some of that came in his most recent outing against the Dodgers, where he did not go 5 innings in that one. Still held them to 3 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings, though, which wasn't that bad. Has 10 strikeouts in the month of May, which is really low, though. And 7 walks isn't that bad, but his strikeout rate is just really low. He doesn't strike guys out. That's the case over the course of the season, but his hit rate is reasonable, below 1 per inning, and his walk rate is pretty reasonable as well, pretty low. He's allowed a decent amount of home runs, though, 11 home runs. That's not great, but overall, he's not that bad of a pitcher, in my opinion. These guys that throw junk tend to throw off the advanced analytics guys, I think. His numbers against the Angels, they have not seen a lot of them. They only have 5 hitters who have faced him, 19 at bats, 211 batting average, allowed 687 OPS, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Trout does have a home run off him, but other than that, not a lot of damage here. That's the only extra base hit. So generally, he's actually pitched okay against the Anaheim hitters that have faced him. He has some unfamiliarity here, too. So Sugano might not pitch that bad here. Sugano, I should say. Grayson Rodriguez is pitching for the Angels. I know his numbers are bad, 7.53 ERA, 1.67 whip, but it's a very small sample size. He's trying to come back from an injury that kept him out of the major leagues for an entire season. Now, if you look at his career, he was actually good before that happened. Like, he started pitching pretty well with Baltimore in 2024, and he's showing signs of improvement here. He's improved with every start this season. I mean, he got a bad draw on his first start, coming back from over a year away with an injury. He had to face the Dodgers. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do, and they lit him up, yeah. He got somewhat unlucky as well in that outing, I would say. But then he pitched a little bit better against Texas the next time out, and then he had his best start against Detroit. And I know those are not powerful offenses. Detroit's offense has been awful, but we do see improvement from start to start here from G-Rod. I don't know if that's his nickname or not, but I'm going to make it so. Maybe he's finding the G spot again and getting better here. But I think based on what we've seen out of him in his short career, I think he's definitely better than what his numbers look like this season. There's no question about that. He's trending in the right direction. He held Detroit to 1 earned run in 5 innings on 2 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. You want to see his walk rate go down, though. He's got 14 1/3 innings so far, 8 walks, 14 strikeouts. The strikeout rate is good. The walk rate, not good. And 16 hits isn't very good either. But again, he is improving with each start here. And Colorado only has 3 hitters who have ever faced him, and they're 0 for 6 off him with 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. So I actually think both pitchers could actually pitch okay here. And, in fact, I might even actually lean that way. I know it sounds insane, but I might actually lean towards the first 5 under in this game. I wouldn't go full game on it, obviously. These bullpens are just horrendous. The full game total is 8.5, close to 9 here. But I think first 5 innings under makes some sense here. The money is back in Colorado, by the way. 69% of tickets, 86% of the cash on them. Anaheim's around minus 150 or so here. Rodriguez getting some respect in the market, or I think really it's more so that Colorado just gets constantly disrespected in the market. I think that might be why some of the money's hitting Colorado here, because maybe Sugano just shouldn't be that big of an underdog, or maybe just Colorado generally shouldn't be, especially against an Anaheim team that really probably doesn't deserve to be favored like that, because they're also not a good team. All right, let's keep going, man. A huge amount of baseball here. It's taking longer than usual. Dodgers at Arizona. Arizona got the win yesterday. Despite being in a return home spot, they overcame that potential distraction. Still got the win 4-1 yesterday and got a good outing out of E-Rod, I guess, yesterday. Arizona used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Dodgers used 2. A couple of, I think, the better relievers came out because it was kind of a closer game. Both bullpens have been good. Dodgers are ranked 2. Diamondbacks are ranked 3, although their ERA is still not terrific. But I'm having to admit that the whip is a good indicator because Arizona's bullpen is showing up and pitching better than I really ever thought they were, because they started the season with no lefties in the bullpen at all. Dodgers still have the better bullpen, though, and I don't think Arizona is actually the third best bullpen, but they may be somewhere, around like maybe a top 10 bullpen. Dodgers are number 1 in offense, as we probably know. Diamondbacks not bad at 14th, so both teams can hit. This pitching matchup is pretty interesting. Eric Lauer is pitching for the Dodgers here. He was really struggling with Toronto, and they cut him, even though he was pretty good for Toronto last year. Wasn't good this year, so they cut him, and the Dodgers decided to pick him up, and he actually pitched well in his first start with the Dodgers. Maybe a change of scenery, good for him. He's got a 5.95 ERA, 1.39 whip, most of that with Toronto this year. He's been basically the same home and away. It doesn't really matter, although his road ERA is above 6, which isn't good. He's made one start, like I said, with the Dodgers so far. He got an easy draw, though, at home against Colorado. They're not a good offense on the road, typically. He went 6 innings, allowed 1 earned run on 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. But it is a good sign that he pitched well in that game. So maybe being with the Dodgers, maybe he's excited because he's on a contending team, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what, gets him up for these games, gets him hard for these games, you know what I mean? Like, last year, Toronto was a contender. This year, not so much. So maybe now that he's with another contending team, maybe that's getting him excited, man. So even though my lean in this game is going to be to fade the Dodgers here, I don't know if I quite want to do it because we still don't really know what Lauer with the Dodgers really looks like. He might actually be good. But he does not have great numbers against the Diamondbacks in 79 career at-bats. Big sample here, 278 average, 903 OPS allowed, 14-7 strikeout walk ratio. 5 of those walks are Arenado, though, but still not good numbers here for Lauer. He's going up against Garrett's favorite pitcher, Michael Soroka, who is having a pretty good season with the Dbacks. 3.25 ERA, 1.2 whip. He's been really good at home, even though it's a hitter-friendly ballpark here at home. 1.57 ERA at home. I don't know what it is with him, but he pitches really well at home. He's been pretty good recently as well. The month of May, 24-5 strikeout walk ratio, 24 hits allowed in 30 and a third innings, and a 1.78 ERA. So he's in good form right now. He allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all those outings, and in fact, he's only allowed more than that twice this season. He did actually pitch against Toronto on April 17th here in Arizona. That was Toronto. What am I saying? Because Lauer used to be on Toronto. My mind is all over the place. Never mind. He needs to face the Dodgers here. He has not faced them. But he has good numbers against the Dodgers, believe it or not. 29 at-bats against them. 172 average allowed. 540 OPS. Too many walks, though. 9 strikeouts, 7 walks. Only 1 extra base hit, though. A double from rushing. And overall, his numbers are good this season overall. Strikeout rate right around 1 per inning. Hit rate below 1 per inning. Walk rate is good as well. So he's a pretty solid pitcher, I will say. And he matches up pretty well. So I do like Arizona in this game. I think the bullpens are a little bit of a wash, too. I mean, if you wanted to go first 5, that still makes sense because maybe you can make the argument the Dodgers, because they do still have a slight bullpen edge here. Maybe you still want to go first 5 with Arizona here. Money's backing the Dodgers, though. 77% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Dodgers. They are, of course, favored because they're the Dodgers. Minus 120 or so here. But do they really deserve to be a road favorite against a pretty capable Arizona team with Lauer as their starting pitcher, who's still kind of unproven whether or not he's returned to form here, So I don't think the Dodgers really deserve that kind of pricing. I don't know, man. I would lean Arizona, and that one is the slight underdog there. Again, maybe first 5 is a little bit of the better way to go. Then we have Mets at Seattle. It was a close game yesterday. I leaned Seattle in the game, and Seattle got it done in extra innings, and Naylor hit a home run, but then left the game with back spasms. So I have no idea if he's going to be in the lineup or not here. He is one of the Mariners' better hitters, of course. But with or without him, I don't think it changes the handicap that much. Mariners are on a nice win streak here. They won, I think, 7 games in a row now or something. They were able to get the win yesterday. I think they are generally the better team here. Not going out on a limb saying that because the Mets have been playing really poorly this season. But Seattle was playing poorly as well for a lot of the season. The Mets used a lot of relief pitchers yesterday because it was a bullpen game for them yesterday. They used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, including, I think, Warren was their opener, Austin Warren. Seattle, I think, might have the slightly better bullpen. They did use 4 relief pitchers, though, because remember, it was an extra inning game. It was a close game, so a lot of guys had to come out of the bullpens. The Mets are ranked 7th in bullpen here. They are good. Their ERA is pretty good. The Mariners have one of the best ERAs in baseball, though. They're 13th because their whip isn't as good. But I like both bullpens. I think Seattle's bullpen's a little bit better, in my opinion, and sets up a little bit better based on the rest here. Seattle is definitely the better offense, even without Naylor. Seattle's 12th offensively. The Mets are dead last. What else is new? 30th. Mets are going with Jonah Tong starting this game. Really interesting, man. He's still a young guy. I mean, it is possible that he starts doing something here, but he did make 5 starts with the Mets last year, and things didn't go great. He had a 7.71 ERA and 1.77 whip, obviously not good. He did have over 1 strikeout per inning, though, which was good, but he allowed a lot of hits. His walk rate wasn't great, but his hit rate was also bad, so he struggled a bit in various ways. Maybe he's pitching a little bit better here. He's only made relief appearances so far this season, but he's got a 0 ERA and a 1.2 whip so far. However, I would settle down a little bit because it was relief appearances against Miami and Cincinnati, at Miami and at home against Cincinnati, so he was in the better pitcher park in those 2 games as well. And he has 5 walks and 3 strikeouts so far, so he's walking almost 1 guy an inning. That's not good. 3 hits allowed in 62 innings is fine, and no earned runs, cool. But I don't really trust Tong right now. He's a young pitcher. He does have talent, I know, but right now I don't really consider him to be trustworthy. No idea what you're going to get out of him here. The Mariners haven't seen him before, though, so maybe he has a little bit of an advantage here. He's only 22 years old, so he might start pitching better, but I don't want to bank on it here. Logan Gilbert is pitching for Seattle. He's obviously the more established pitcher. 3.69 ERA, 1.11 whip. Good stuff from Gilbert, but shockingly, he's been way worse at home, which makes no sense, as usually every Seattle pitcher does. I feel like I'm a broken record, but typically Seattle, all their pitchers pitch better at home because it's a more pitcher-friendly park, but he's got a 5.67 home ERA and more innings pitched at home, and he's allowed 10 times as many home runs at home this year in 11 more innings pitched as well, but still, that's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with him at home. Maybe he'll turn it around because he's definitely pitching better recently. He's had 3 shutout appearances in his last 4 outings, but all of them were on the road. In his most recent home start, he got not lit up really, but he did allow a lot of runs to San Diego. 7 earned runs in that outing, 3 home runs, but he did hold them to 5 hits, 2 walks, so he got pretty unlucky in that outing. 5 strikeouts, but his road starts have been excellent recently, including a 1-hit, 6-inning shutout against the White Sox. He had a good shutout start on the road at the A's. Not easy to do either of those things, man. So I think Gilbert is good, but I just don't know what's going on with him at home right now. That is a little bit of a concern, but he's been good against the Mets in a huge sample, 87 at-bats, because they're former American League players all have a lot of at-bats against him. Bichette, Soto, and especially Semien, who was in his division, all have a lot of at-bats against him, but none of them have hit him well. He's got 28 strikeouts, 3 walks against them, 126 average allowed, 339 OPS. Semien does have a home run off him, but he's 5 for 38 against them, and with 2 doubles. So Gilbert does match up well here. I know he hasn't been pitching well at home, but I kind of have a tendency to lean towards him pitching well here. The Mets, I mean, their offense typically has not taken advantage of most pitchers this year. It actually looks like the Mets are undecided here right now, too, so it might be like a bullpen game for the Mets here. Maybe Tong will come in after an opener or something. I don't know what they're doing. I'd probably prefer Seattle again, though. They're around minus 150 or so. We don't really see where the money's coming in yet. Maybe it's a little bit too much of a price to lay there. It's a low total, 7.5 juice to the under. I don't know if I would trust an under, though, given what's going on with the Mets and given that both bullpens are a little bit unrested here. I think a Seattle, money line play maybe might make more sense there at below minus 150. All right, 2 hours just for baseball. We'll hit WNBA. We're in the WNBA Commissioner's Cup because guess what? They do the same thing as the NBA. They have a Commissioner's Cup, which is really dumb, whatever. I kind of treat them like regular season games anyway, though. Maybe, the lesser teams, maybe the teams that know they're not going to win the championship do have a little bit of a motivational edge in some of these games. But it's just like the NBA Cup, and the home team is just the home team here. So, these games are at the site of whoever the home team is. They're almost like regular season games. We have Atlanta hosting Connecticut. This is a big mismatch. Atlanta's one of the better teams in the league. Connecticut is awful. Atlanta is returning home from the road. They were only on the road for 2 games, but they were still away for a week or so against Minnesota and then Portland. Not a big deal beating Portland, but Minnesota's a big game. Now they're returning home from that, and they do have Indiana on deck, which may be a bigger game because it is still Caitlin Clark, even though I think their coach is an idiot and not managing the players well and mismanaging the amount of talent. Indiana should have a way better record than they do based on the amount of talent. And the people that are blaming Caitlin Clark are stupid. Their coach is obviously an idiot. But anyway, Atlanta might be looking ahead to that, plus they're in a return home spot. I would slightly lean to Connecticut here, but obviously it's not a strong opinion from me. Connecticut did just break a 3-game losing streak, so maybe they'll have a little bit of momentum from that. It was a return home spot, too, which is kind of crazy. They beat L.A., who's kind of a mediocre team. Now they're starting another road trip. They may be focused here for that, staying in the Eastern time zone. Don't have much on the game, but Atlanta's like a 13.5, 14-point favorite here. It's a low total as well. Like all the totals today, except for the Vegas LA game, are all pretty low. So the low total kind of indicates that the points are, the low total does indicate the points are worth more. So it makes a little bit more sense to take an underdog with of a huge magnitude with a low total like that. So Connecticut plus the points makes the most sense to me in that game. WNBA started, like a week into May maybe. I have no idea. But this is the Commissioner's Cup. The Cup happens in the middle of the regular season. It has nothing to do with the championship. But the WNBA season is still short. It's like a couple of months. Chicago at Washington is the next game. Or maybe a few months. I forget when the end of the season is. It's towards the end of the summer, though. Washington lost at home to LA in their last outing. Just saw some very attractive ladies here on the Minnesota team there, which I think they're the best team in the league probably when they get Collier back. Jeez, man. Oh, man. Why do we not watch the WNBA, man? Such attractive ladies they have here. Washington just lost at home to L.A. here. It was in a return home spot, so that's a negative spot. So maybe they do bounce back here for a game against Chicago. Of course, a team, by the way, like Connecticut, like Washington, they probably kind of know they're not going anywhere this year, especially Connecticut, so they might get a little bit extra up for these cup games. Although I think Chicago currently would not be a playoff team either, though, here. Chicago is coming in off, 4 straight losses, including getting annihilated by Minnesota. I think they've had a somewhat difficult schedule so far, though. Yeah, kind of. They faced Minnesota 3 times already and beat them once. That's not horrible. So they're going out on the road for a game off of a blowout home loss to a pretty good Minnesota team. It looks like both teams should have focus in this game. The line is flipped to Chicago being a favorite here, 1.5, 2. They're the better team. I guess I would lean towards Chicago in that game because I think both teams might have motivation in that one. I don't know, man. Chicago's 3-1 on the road, by the way. Washington 0-2 at home, so the home road splits look good for Chicago there. And the public bettors might look and say, oh, but Chicago's 3-5. Why would I lay a favorite price with them on the road against a 3-4 team, right? So it's a little bit misleading. The records are a little bit misleading. The odds makers are telling you Chicago is the better team there. Portland at Golden State should be a bit of a mismatch here. Portland has definitely exceeded expectations, though. Both teams, in fact, have the same record. Or no, wait, Golden State's 5-3, Portland's 6-4. But the odds makers are going to look, or excuse me, the recreational bettors are going to look at this and see Golden State's an 8.5-point favorite and want to take the underdog here, right? Because why would a team that has a similar record be laying that many points, right? Well, the odds makers are telling you Golden State's the significantly better team than Portland. That's why. Now, do I want Golden State off of a tough game against Vegas? Not really. I mean, they lost by double digits, and the game was kind of over before it was over. So it wasn't really that close. So maybe they are in a bounce-back spot here, but I don't really want Golden State here. Portland is coming in off an upset win, though. They just beat Indiana. They blew Indiana out. That was a huge win for Portland. I believe they were a double-digit dog here? Yeah, they were an 11.5-point underdog here. So that was a big win for Portland against a just discombobulated Indiana team here. Indiana just was horrible in the game shooting-wise. They took fewer shots, which does worry me a little bit because they went to the line a ton. So that's kind of the problem I would have, where it looks like there are some outliers here where Portland is going to regress because they shot 51% from the field, 39% from three versus Indiana shooting 41% and 23% respectively. But the rebound battle was really close, and Indiana had 12 more points from the free throw line and still lost by that much. So that's not a good sign really for Indiana, and it kind of takes away from the regression points for Portland a little bit here. But still, Portland is coming off that big upset, might be riding high. However, this is a cup game against a team they know is good against Golden State, so I think Portland still might have a little bit of motivation here as well. So I'm not going to touch the game, but I think because the public is probably going to see, oh, Portland just killed Caitlin Clark. They're getting 8.5 points here. Like, how could you possibly lay points with a close to 500 Golden State team? All of that has me leaning Golden State here. I would lay the points with Golden State. They're around 8.5, 9 here now. If I was going to play that game, I would lay the points there. All right, and then we have Vegas and LA. This is my strongest opinion out of all these games. And I've had a good read on this series, right? Because we had LA's first game of the season. I said, play Vegas. Vegas, I think, was only about a 2-point road favorite in that game, which is going to come into what I think about this game here. Vegas easily covered that number, but if you dig into that box score, it was a misleading result, which, of course, then led me to tell you to take Vegas, take LA in the next game. So the reason why I liked Vegas in the first game was because Vegas had already played a game. They got blown out, and that was another game I gave it a play on. Vegas got blown out in their home opener, their first game of the season, their ring ceremony against the team that they beat in the finals, Phoenix. So it was a huge revenge game for Phoenix, and Vegas had a horrible game. So I said, take Vegas in the next game because they already have a game under the belt. They already are used to playing. LA hadn't played since like the preseason and had been off for a while. So I liked that. Vegas easily got the win for us, but again, it was misleading. So then the next time we had these teams matching up, Vegas, I think, was returning home from a road trip. They'd had that misleading result against LA, so I said take LA plus the points, and I think they were about a 9.5-point underdog in that game. And what happened? Yeah, LA got the outright win in that game. The fact that Vegas was a 9.5-point favorite in that game made no sense to me because they're only a 2-point favorite in that first game, although I'm wondering if maybe there was like an injury or something. Like, I don't know. I haven't really looked at the box score. No, like Wilson, Gray, Young, like those are all the best players on Vegas. They all played in that game. So I don't really know why that line was so much lower. It makes no sense. So that's where I kind of arrive at this game. Like, I like the spot for Vegas here to bounce back, okay? Because if you look at that game, it was a bit of an outlier that was in the direction of LA this time. Like, I don't think they really should have won this game outright based on the stats, even though we got the game right with the cover. They shot 55% from the field, 48% from three. That indicates they were not really the better team in the game. They just shot way better. The Aces had more field goal attempts by 9, but they only shot 45%, only 34% from three. So LA had 12 more points from the three-point range in that game. Vegas out-rebounded them, so Vegas was kind of the better team in the game and definitely had chances to win the game. So I think it was still a good handicap. We got the game right, but now I think it swings back the other way where that was a misleading game for Vegas. The problem is Vegas was a 2.5-point favorite the last time they were at LA, and now they're 7.5. And the line actually had dropped to 2 or 1.5, but now it's 7.5. I can't do it, man. I can't lay the points with Vegas when there's that much of a point disparity in like a span of 2 weeks. I don't really understand why that's the case unless, does LA have some injuries now? Like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on here. Let me see. Yeah, I think that is why. Kelsey Plum is out. Yeah, that's why. She's got an ankle sprain. So now, yeah, actually, she's been out since May 23rd, I guess. I didn't even realize that. So I was going to say, well, LA would be in an injured player theory spot. By the way, I think Plum used to play for Vegas. So Plum has already missed 2 games, by the way. So I missed that on the handicap in the LA-Washington game. That would have been a little bit of a motivator, the injured player theory spot. But then after you get through that injured player theory spot, a lot of times you don't play well in the next couple of games. So LA is now without Plum. So actually that's the reason why Vegas is at an elevated price here. And Vegas, of course, was 9.5 at home the last time. So this line is a little bit more in line with that, I guess. If you think that each team only gets 1 point for home court, which actually might be about right in the WNBA. But there are more things to dislike about LA here, by the way. They're returning home from a long road trip. So that's another negative. When a team returns home from the road, as I always say, they've been away since May 21st. A lot of times it's a distraction. You got to get back to home life. The caveat that I would have is they're playing Vegas. That's still the returning champs. They're 1-1 against Vegas on the season. I think they're still going to be motivated to play Vegas. And it's a cup game, so that might give them a little bit more motivation here because, of course, Vegas might pay less attention to the cup because they got their sights set on winning another championship. LA doesn't really have that as a goal, so those are my concerns with it. I like Vegas in the game, but I can't lay 7.5 on the road with them here. I think the line is just a little bit of an overreaction. I think it's too high at 7.5, even 8 now. And I think there are some factors that might still keep LA a little bit motivated. So I like Vegas. If you force me to give you a play in the WNBA at all, I actually would probably lay the points with Vegas here, but I'm not going to do that. It's not going to make my card. And then we have on ABC, we have the Stanley Cup Final starting, Vegas at Carolina. Carolina is a favorite. They're probably about a -200 something favorite to win the Stanley Cup at this point. However, they do have less player experience. That's one thing I mentioned. Oh, and of course, I can't even see it here, even though I'm refreshing this page. Oh, I have to hide the the FAQ. Wait, where the fuck is the hockey game? Oh, here it is. So, yeah, we can see what the money looks like here. Now, so things to consider here. Yeah, Vegas, they have more player experience here. So they have some guys on the team that have been here, that have done this before. They even have a coach that's won a final before in Tortorella, even though I know he's new to Vegas. So that's a little bit of a concern that, do they have enough experience with him as their coach? I don't know. But the one advantage that Vegas does have in this series is the player experience here. But people might overrate Vegas. So Vegas, I'm kind of rooting for Vegas as well, to be honest, just because it would help my bracket a little bit more if the more popular championship pick like Carolina got knocked out. I almost picked Carolina to win the championship over Vegas, though. It was either Carolina over Vegas or Tampa over Vegas, and I went with the wrong one. It was bullshit that Tampa lost to Montreal, man. Montreal somehow winning that last game with only 9 shots on goal. Absolute bullshit. Yes, correct. Vegas, dude, the left hates Vegas, so if you want to make it political, yeah, Vegas did not make a pride post yesterday like all these other stupid teams. We're sick of that shit, man. Instead, they pointed out that it is also cancer survivors month or something. So they mentioned that instead. That's a better thing to point out, man. Yeah, cancer, it's a huge problem. Yeah, and plus, my mom is a cancer survivor, so hey, it's her month, so I appreciated that quite a bit. And also the left, they all were going after Vegas because of the Carter Hart thing, dude, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like Duke lacrosse or anything that obvious, and just crazy, but it's another one of those situations where I'm pretty sure what happened was a woman got drunk, she probably slept with multiple of these hockey players here. It was just young people being stupid, being drunk, and then after the fact, she regretted it and then made all these allegations against them, and it didn't hold up in court. A judge threw it out and said that, this woman is not credible. She changed her story. I think her name is still not known. So the judge threw it out. So what more do you want, man? So it is BS, but then you have everybody out there doing the same thing they're doing with Trevor Bauer. Oh, he's not allowed to come back to Major League Baseball. They're doing the same thing with Carter Hart, the goalie for Vegas here. Oh, he's, he should be in prison. He's a sex offender, a sex abuser, whatever. Well, no, there's no actual evidence of that. And it seems like it's more likely that it's one of those stupid Me Too types of situations where it was just a bunch of young, drunk people being dumb. You know what I mean? So whatever. So yeah, I think that's all some bullshit too. Hart is playing well throughout the playoffs, but so is Anderson for Carolina. So the two hot goalies throughout the playoffs are both playing here. I do think Vegas would tend to maybe get a little bit more respect because they did just beat Colorado. So you would think that the public would be a little bit more leaning towards Vegas here for that reason. But they might not because Carolina has been the better team throughout the course of the season, and both teams have been really hot throughout the playoffs. Carolina's lost one playoff game, and Vegas hasn't lost that many more than that. What did they lose? 3? 4, I guess. So, yeah, that's interesting. But I think Carolina won't get as much credit for beating Montreal because Montreal is just a young team that wasn't really expected to be there. But you got to give Vegas something because they're more battle-tested, at least. Vegas did face the best team in hockey, Colorado, and swept them out of the playoffs. But again, will that make Vegas in a letdown spot here? Will it make them a little bit overrated? I don't think there's a letdown spot because this is the Stanley Cup Finals. But yeah, they might be a little bit, overhyped off of that coming into this. And Vegas has had more time off as well, which I think is a negative because they just swept Colorado. And like I said, when you're on a win streak like this, you've won 6 games in a row, you don't want to have time off. It can cool you off. They haven't played since last Tuesday, so they've had a week off, whereas Carolina's momentum might continue because they played on Friday. Because they lost their, the only loss was game 1, which was a winner here on the show, by the way. Montreal beat Carolina in game 1 of that series. And I think the whole reason for that was Carolina had an unprecedented 11 days off before that. So they were obviously rusty. Horrible first period in that game. And then once they turned it on, they were good to go. They did have some close games after that, but they still dominated the series. If you look at the statistics, they crushed Montreal in that series. And now Carolina has less time off. They played on Friday, so I think that will hurt their momentum a little bit less. So Vegas has had 6 days off. Carolina has had 3 days off. So both teams are going to be rested, but I think the amount of rest might be a negative for Vegas because it might turn slightly more into rust. It's at least not 11 days off, though, but I think that's a little bit of an advantage to Carolina here. Carolina is the better of the two teams, which is why they're favored. But again, Carolina's a team that hasn't made it to this level before. Vegas has. So that's the thing. Like I said, that's the experience thing. Vegas has championship pedigree here with their coach and with a number of their players. Carolina does not because Carolina, they just wasn't able to. I don't think they have as much, at least, because they haven't been able to get through the Eastern Conference Finals recently, So I think that weighs towards Vegas. That tilts, in Vegas's favor a little bit here. But Vegas is also not good on the road, as I pointed out, although they beat Colorado twice on the road during the playoffs. But Vegas did not have a good road record during the regular season. Carolina was quite good at home, so the home-road regular season splits do look like they helped Carolina here. During the regular season, these teams only played twice, and Vegas won both games by 3, which is pretty interesting. They were both way back in October, so these teams haven't played each other recently at all. But if we look at the first game was at Vegas. Vegas was undefeated at the time, and I believe dealt Carolina either their first loss or second loss of the season, whatever that was. Now, if we look into this box score here, it was really close. Neither team dominated the game. Carolina had one more shot, but maybe that was because they were losing a good chunk of the game. Vegas won the face-off percentage, and hits were close. So it looks like it was a close game. Vegas did put an empty netter in at the end. Vegas won the game 4-1. It looks like it should have been a 1-goal game one way or the other, so maybe it was a little bit misleading. The second game they played, which was here in Carolina, still way back in October, Vegas won the game 6-3, and Vegas actually kind of dominated this game. They won the shot battle by 11, they won the hit battle by 5, and they barely lost the face-off battle. So if you look at the stats in this game, I know it was a 6-3 win. Maybe it shouldn't have been that much of a blowout, but Vegas did win this game statistically. Each team had one power play goal, which, so I think that kind of cancels it out if you're looking at how did these teams do even strength. Well, it was a 4-2 win, I think, for Vegas. If you factor it in even strength, Vegas put an empty net goal in at the end of the game. Vegas had a great third period in that game. They actually fell behind 3-2 in the third period of that game and then put 4 goals in the third period. One of them the empty net, though, like I said. So interesting. Vegas had 2 multi-goal scorers in the game but had no hat trick in the game. Interesting, but Vegas was actually the better team in that game, so they can actually compete with Carolina here. So all that being said, I'm not going to play this game. I'm going to wait. I'm going to lean slightly towards Carolina in this game, but I think there are some things that worry me. Like I said, the pedigree that Vegas has and the fact that Vegas actually played Carolina well, even here during the regular season, has me concerned a little bit, but I think the extra rest for Vegas is a problem here. They're also having to travel to the West Coast or to the East Coast. Remember, Vegas has not played on the East Coast for a long time now because they've been out west this whole time. So they're going to have to go to Carolina for the first time during the postseason. There might be a little bit more of a home advantage here because the travel is going to be 3 time zones across the country, right? So you might see the home advantage be a little bit more significant in this series. It might affect Carolina the same way once they have to go on the road because they won't have been out west for a long, long time either. But yeah, I think maybe the rust develops for Vegas here. I'll lean Carolina slightly here. They're getting the money, 54% of tickets, 73% of the cash on them. Minus 150 something is the price here. So the odds makers are favoring Carolina here, telling you Carolina's the better team, which it is true they are. So they're getting more than home ice here. I would lean under for the total, but the money's coming in on the over. 64% of tickets, 74% of the cash on the over. The worry, I guess, is if the goaltenders are kind of out of rhythm early in the game. But I think an under makes sense. It's 5.5. Both of these teams play some pretty decent defense here. I think Vegas is actually the better offense out of the two, though. Carolina is the better defense, I think. Which usually I like the better defense, but I think Vegas might be a little bit more balanced as far as that's concerned. Carolina just plays a lot of lower scoring games. But anyway, and if Carolina's controlling the pace of the game, that also kind of indicates towards the under here. But because both teams have had so much time off, I think it affects the offense more than the defense because the defense can come out rested. The offense can tend to be a bit out of rhythm. So an under or maybe like a first period under makes some sense to me in that game. But no play for me there, and that's going to do it. We'll be back. I thought the NBA was starting on Thursday, but it's starting tomorrow. So we'll be back probably talking about rest versus rust in that game too. Spurs, Knicks. As a Boston fan, I just have to root for the Spurs. I have to root against fucking New York, man, especially New York's celebrity fan base. Just get out of here with that shit. So hopefully the Spurs are going to win at this point. No matter who was playing against the Knicks, that's who I was going to be rooting for. That's going to do it. We have 3 plays today, all in baseball. We have Blue Jays moneyline first 5, backing Gausman in that one over Elder. We have under Giants Brewers, 7.5 full game there. Little bit of a heftier price on it, but that's what I like. And then we have the A's first 5 backing Gage Jump in that game against Taillon. So it's that's a money line play first 5 A's. Let's get it done. Let's get back on the winning side here. 2-1. I'd be satisfied with a 2-1 winning day. That's what the goal is. Let's get back on the winning track. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Tell everybody about it. We're gradually getting more subscribers here. So let's get it. Let's get to 500 and then talk about the next milestone after that. Listen on audio as well. That helps me out. Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. Covered in Uke, my ukulele cover channel. Check that out as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me that way. I appreciate that. I know for Harry Balls, I know I have to do that cover. I said I was going to do it. I will at some point. I got to get my voice back a little bit. It's going to be bad, dude. It's a Queen cover, and it's one of the easier ones to at least translate to you because it's not considered to be one of their untouchable masterpieces, but it's still Queen is basically untouchable, So I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to do it some sort of justice. I'm going to do that at some point, and then Loser Cast will be back tonight. I got to choose a loser for tonight. I don't know who I want to choose. I mean, there are some political arena figures that we could choose. Somebody else might pick them, so I don't know. I'm going to at least bring that up, but I think I'm going to go with something. I want to go with something just ridiculous and funny and off the beaten path, so that's probably what I'm going to be looking for. I'll find something. I like to be current and relevant, but it's all political, so I don't know. I'm kind of trying to push it in a more humorous direction. And then the Giants G-Spot podcast. Again, I know I keep mentioning it. We have one episode out there that was a draft preview, but we need to do a season preview. Talk about what's happened in the draft. The Giants actually did just sign a few different players, so we're going to be talking about some of that too. They just signed a bunch of wide receivers, I think. So whatever. They got some wide receiver depth now. Anyway, that's going to do it. I'll be back tomorrow, I suppose. Hopefully we get some wins today. Peace.
But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now.